And we're live. Yves Edwards, ladies and gentlemen. You're one of those dudes that has that book cover for your phone. I tried to rock the book cover. After a while, I'm like, what am I doing here with this extra step? Where I got to open up a book to get to my phone.
I like it because I forget things a lot. So, like, I don't like having a wallet and a phone. When I leave somewhere, like especially even the house, I leave the house with my phone, but I don't have my cash or my cards or something like that. So
I got a solution for you. It's called a motherfucking fanny pack. That's right, Yves Edwards. You're a cool dude. You think you're cool enough to rock one of these? Like, are you cool enough to get past the social pariah aspect of this bag that you wear around your waist?
I don't have that much shit with me most of the time.
But it's not that much shit. There's a lot of shit in here, but this is a weird day. I have, like, keys and I have a knife in there and stuff. But most of the time, it's just light. I travel light with that. Look at that. Who's that?
I believe Quavo from Migos.
I have no idea who you just said.
So popular rapper. Joe.
But that is a ridiculous. Is he a popular fellow?
Yes.
I know
I'm an old
Migos are
man,
popular.
dude. I'm an old man who listens to the Allman Brothers. All right. But that one that he's got on is preposterous.
It's very fancy.
He might as well have a laptop hanging around his waist.
Yeah, he's also got like holes in his jeans.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. Would you get attacked by a tiger, sir?
He's also got a lot of jewelry.
All that jewelry.
In the 80s.
Yeah, he's kind of ridiculous looking. But make that bigger again so I can take a look at this gentleman.
Well, this is a light version too. I probably could have found a better picture.
He's got a lot going on. Those pants are preposterous. That's the most preposterous thing. Like, I guess the shoes, if you're like, you want to go out, but you also want to go bowling, you might wear those shoes.
This is a roast fest. Let's go.
I can't say anything bad about the jewelry. I'm not into the jewelry. I mean, that's not my thing, but he looks like he's well appointed.
Looks like he has 2 watches on, though.
Fuck yeah, balling. Hashtag balling. I think the one on the right is probably just, is that a
bracelet?
Bracelet?
Yeah.
Just a fancy ass bracelet. But the pants are ridiculous. I don't. How the fuck did that ever get started where people wear ripped up pants? I tried to talk to Brendan Schaub about that. That dumb motherfucker wears those shit.
Didn't they do it in the 80s though? They did it a long time ago.
Yeah, exactly.
Too. It's been going on for a while.
That's like from
It's not
fucking
new.
music videos. It's just like, what are you doing, man?
It's like Pat Benatar and shit.
I don't have any fashion taste. Don't listen to me. But when I mock some shit, you might want to listen to me. Like, don't wear what I wear. Like, you know, don't. Just don't. I mostly wear either I wear like these things, which are like trail running sneakers. They get no sneaker cred. Or I'll wear like Converse All-Star. Look at this. Look at this. Teen Beat Donnie Wahlberg.
Yeah, exactly.
Good Lord.
That's from the 90s.
How
80s.
does his hog not just slip right out of that one on the right-hand side? That one on the right-hand side? Come on. Silly
He
fucks.
probably has, like, I don't know. I see that and I feel like a guy's probably wearing a thong under that, too.
Yeah, I would imagine there's something going on there.
Now, see, like with the women, like it's so much nicer.
Yeah,
You know,
that
I
doesn't
could dig
bother me
that.
at all. I'm going to
Huh.
tell you right now. This is where I'm a hypocrite. Like with Beyonce right there, she fills it out.
Yeah, she does.
That's kind of different because like a woman's legs and everything are very sexual, right? So if you see extra leg, it's like just shut your mouth and take the bonus.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, you don't
Don't
want to
put-
complain about it.
Yeah.
But a dude wearing something like that,
It's like it's literally like, well, not literally, but it's so much like a guy wearing a dress. Like it's a fashion for women, I believe.
it's trying way too hard. Like this, look at this fella. This like seems like the 80s though, because he's got
Yeah,
a
it
suit
is.
jacket on.
I mean, you can look at the quality of the picture
Yeah, right. That's true.
and that hairstyle.
The suit jackets never came back.
No.
He's got patches too.
Oh, he's got patches. Yeah.
I remember when they used to do all that art on the jeans too.
Yeah, that was
That's
that.
from the
Those
80s.
Those pants are ridiculous. But ripped up pants, men. Allegedly.
Ripped up pants and skinny jeans. I'm still 100% against skinny jeans.
You know what? I say that I'm against skinny jeans, but I wear these things called barbell jeans. You ever wear those?
No.
They look like skinny jeans because they're tight to you, but they have. Oh, I got them on right now. They're made out of
Yeah,
this shit.
they got some elasticity.
Oh
to it.
yeah, man. They're like wearing sweatpants. Like you don't feel. You can go throw kicks in them. Like you could. Like for real.
I'm too old for that.
No.
Can't get my leg.
No.
anymore.
Do you train anymore?
Yeah, I still train.
Yeah?
I haven't trained the past few months. Have been a little bit hard, but now that things are settling down and I'm settling into this new life. Things are good. Been training with Joe a lot, Schilling.
Oh, okay, cool.
Mickey Gall just moved out here.
Are you in that area? Are
Yeah.
you in the downtown area?
Yeah, in Eagle Rock.
Oh, nice, nice.
So
Yeah.
I like it over there.
The Yard's a great place.
The yard is awesome.
That's a great place to train.
Been going there for a while. With
I
him.
saw Mickey training with Joe on Instagram.
Yep.
Yeah. Nice. So
So-
he's down there too?
Yep.
Smart. Good move for him. That's
Mickey-
what he needs, right? His striking, his ground game is very good.
Yeah, his ground is really good. He moved down here about a month ago, and he actually is my roommate now.
No shit.
Yeah.
You live with Mickey Gall?
Mickey lives. Yeah, he came out and lived with me.
That's cool. That's got to be fun.
It's fun. It's fun also because he's so young.
Yeah.
It's almost like having a son that did
Yeah.
what you do. Is doing what you did. You know,
That's a great resource for him to be able to talk to you, ask
Man.
you questions about the game.
we sit around and watch fights sometimes. It's good.
Yves Edwards, I saw you fight in hook and shoot in like the fucking 60s. Like you were wearing bell bottoms when you came out into the cage.
I was. There was one. Yeah.
I remember you fought Aaron Riley. I think you were like 12 years old. How old were you?
I was about 20, yeah, so I was still a kid.
Those were good fights though, man. Those
Yeah.
were good fights.
That was I was watching that fight. Actually, Mickey and I watched that fight together a couple of weeks ago.
Is it weird?
It is weird.
Does it seem like you? Does it seem like another life? It's kind of another life, right?
It is.
Like how old are you now?
I'm 41.
When you think back about yourself at 20, like how much memory do you really have of that? You got like little flashes.
Yeah.
Like I could see little images of and then I have a narrative that I play out in my head that I think happened, and so I can repeat it. Here you go. Look at that. 20-year-old Yves Edwards bouncing around.
that-
Wow, dude.
Yeah, look at the hair.
Wow. Yeah, you had
I
like
had
that.
this curl thing going on.
You had that Kumo D thing going on too.
I was, I was representing for the homies.
Wow.
I used
This
to
is
fight
the
in those green shorts.
early days. This was Jeff Osborne's show.
Yep, that was
Yeah.
Hook and Shoot. That was the first time Aaron and I fought. In-
Jeff doing? He's a really good commentator, man. Is he working?
I don't know. I know
Is
he
he
just
doing that anymore?
he shut down Hook and Shoot.
Yeah.
Like it's gone, and I
Yeah.
don't know what Jeff is doing. I know he had a lot. He was involved with pro wrestling a lot too. But now I haven't spoken to him in a long time.
I did a couple shows with him in the UFC when I first came aboard.
Yup.
He was doing the UFC back in the day.
Yeah, I was just that's another thing. That's another thing. Going back and watching these old fights. I've been on Fight Pass and I was watching. I think it was like UFC 33.
Wow.
Where in Louisiana, when Bustamante and Lindland, that card.
Yeah, that was the restart fight.
Yeah, exactly.
Remember that?
Yeah, I fought
Bustamante
Uno on
tapped
that
him
card.
twice. That's
Bustamante
right.
tapped him
And then tapped him again.
and Big John kind of screwed it up and.
Yeah, man. That was the early days too. Yeah. I think nowadays, Big John would have just said, no,
Yeah,
it's over.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, we were all learning back then.
Yeah. But that was still like UFC middleweight championship. It was like they had 30 plus shows.
Yep.
It was like,
It was something that you wouldn't expect.
Yeah.
for sure.
well, Lindland was he was so crazy. Didn't he bite somebody when he was wrestling?
Lindland?
Yeah. In the wrestling days, he bit somebody. Here's Bustamante versus Chuck Liddell. This is a different one. Yeah, this was a fight where Bustamante was outpowered.
Yeah, he was just too small for
Chuck was just so scary back then.
And Bustamante wasn't taking Chuck down.
Well, Bustamante had fought some big fucking dudes, though, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the thing that he hadn't taken Chuck down. He had fought some big fucking dudes. Remember he fought Tom Erickson
Yep.
in like World Combat something or another?
I don't remember the organization. I do vaguely remember the fight. I don't remember watching it. But there was a mat. I feel like it was on a mat and there was no cage or a ring.
Maybe. You might be right.
But
That's what my dream is. My dream is to do MMA fights in a football field. I feel like if
So you
people
can
can get
run?
together for football fields, no, so you can't get trapped up against the cage. I feel like if a guy takes you down and holds you down, he should be able to hold you down because there's nothing there but the ground.
Yeah.
But a cage, you can wall walk up the cage. There, you could protect yourself against submissions up against the cage. There's a bunch of shit that happens against the cage that just doesn't happen if you're in a basketball court.
But then because of that, you got to develop new technique, right? You got to
Right.
develop something to deal with that situation.
Yeah. Are you do you think the rules are okay?
No.
What would you change?
I would definitely change the 12 to 6 elbow. That's one.
Yeah.
I always
That's
thought
the
that was
big
silly.
You know why that one's illegal, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So stupid.
I used to watch those the karate
breaking
things.
demonstrations?
Yeah. They used to come on late at night on ESPN when I was
Yeah.
a kid. I used to watch those things all the time. I used to love them too. Even when I was fighting, I was still watching those things because it was entertainment.
Those things are so silly. Yeah.
Those they get so intense too, you know.
Yeah.
And
So
then-
the athletic commissions really thought that you couldn't do that to a person because you'd kill him. So they made that technique illegal. Out of all the shit, like we have that power cube thing in the back where
Yeah.
Ngannou registered that power punch. If you go out there and elbow that thing, you'd be shocked at how weak ass your elbow
Yeah.
is, especially a drop down elbow. Like it's just not that much power.
It's just, I mean, when they're breaking those boards,
Yeah.
they're using that joint as a
lever.
post, as a lever,
Yeah,
exactly,
yeah.
and they're just putting their body weight behind it.
Yeah.
That's all it is. You can't necessarily do that when you're inside someone's guard.
Right. You don't want
can't
John
jump down
Jones
onto it.
elbowing you in the face, period.
Exactly.
But it's no difference if John's hitting you with a downward elbow like he got disqualified for when he fought Matt Hamill,
yep.
or if he's hitting you with a sideways elbow. He's just smashing you.
You know what? That downward elbow is going to cut a lot less unless it's the point on the top of the head.
That's true, right?
know,
That's
so-
true. That's a very important point. Like that was always the argument against no gloves was that you'd cut people more.
Yeah. I agree with that. I mean, that skin getting pinched between bone at that speed, you know, it's just getting
Mm-hmm. Yep.
torn. It's not
Yeah.
even really a cut.
But do you think that having wrapped up hands and having padded gloves, like, is that an unrealistic sort of thing? Because like if you're striking, like if you and a dude were just fighting, right? You're just fighting. Like there's no like, hey, this is a play fight or we're gonna have rules. This is just a fight. You and a guy are fighting. You can't just hit him with bare hands the way you can hit him with gloves on, with your wrist taped up. You know, you got to be very wary about punching him full blast in the forehead. You might shatter your hand. There's a lot of things you have to think about.
Yeah, but I guess as if someone has done it and trained to try to knock someone out,
Right.
you're not thinking about we're never throwing punches at your skull.
Right.
You know, we're aiming for these targets that are soft.
For sure.
So like when you're in a street fight, like those things don't turn off.
Right.
So as a fighter, that's not a concern to me in a street fight situation. When you bring that up, but I know it can happen. I mean, it happened in some of the early UFCs. Guys would break their hands on skulls.
That's what I'm saying. Is it unrealistic to put gloves on someone and tape their wrist up when we don't give them any other advantage for striking in any other way? You don't let them cast up your ankles or do something where you protect your shins and make it easier for you to kick hard. Because if you had like some sort of spandex thing with a shin pad. Like the same sort of thickness of shin pad as you have on the knuckles, you would just be slamming into everything.
Yeah.
Elbows, arms, who gives a fuck? You wouldn't worry about it. Just slam it in there. Boom. It would change the game.
It would completely change the game, but it would slow it down a lot more. I mean, in MMA fights now, you look at a punch count for an MMA fight versus a boxing match. You know,
Yes.
of course they can only punch, so the
Right.
punch count's higher, but your hands are getting hurt. You know, guys will lose fights simply because they can't continue going into the second round sometimes.
Will that be the case, or will they change their style?
It will definitely change the style, but without having the gloves and hand wraps and that stuff there is going to be those times when it's just gonna not minimize, but bring the number down.
Yeah.
It's not gonna stop it though.
I agree. I mean, I think if I wanted to look at it in terms of just pure entertainment value, I'd say leave it the way it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Change downward elbows, maybe add a couple other things.
Yeah, some things like I like the pride rules, man.
Yeah, pride
I
rules
still
aren't
love
bad.
Pride rules, including with the judging, with the pride rules. Judge the whole fight.
Judge the whole fight. I agree with that.
I like that.
I agree with that. And I think more judges, but I think that's a big one. I was talking about that with Pat Miletich the other day. We're saying like 5 judges or more.
Yeah.
Like, why only 3?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. With more judges, you'll get a little more diversity. Also, though, I think you got to change the scoring criteria. I mean, we are using a boxing criteria, but like when you talk about wrestling, and when I see guys go, "Oh, he scores a takedown," when a guy goes down, he pops right back up. I'm like, "It's not a takedown. It's not
Right.
2."
Right. It's
you
not
know.
2. Yeah.
So So, like, why can't we implement some of the thing? Because we're taking aspects of all these different styles of fighting. Like the scoring system and the values for things should come from that to some degree.
Yeah, a takedown with immediate stand-up. Like if someone takes you down, you're right back up. That is not a whole lot different than you blocking a kick.
Yeah.
You know, does blocking a kick count? If you get your knee up and your elbow up and you catch one right here, are you counting that as something that got through?
Yeah.
Right?
No, you're not.
So
you know who does?
Who?
Greg Jackson. He's
Does
a
he?
great coach, man.
He counts that?
He I think he does this psychological thing. I'm letting the cat out of the bag with this one because I'm in the cage with Isaac Valley Flag, and Isaac throws a kick and I block it, and Greg's like, "It's a great kick, Isaac. Great kick, Ike. That landed." And and I'm like, and then he does something else, and it doesn't affect me, but he's cheering him on like it does, and I'm like, is he doing that for the judges? Because I'm like, and I went back to the corner. I told Mike, I was like, Mike, he's cheering him on, getting the judges on his side. Mike's like, don't worry about that. This is what you need to do.
Yeah, you got to get that shit out of your head.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. But if he's right there, like if you see where one corner is and then the other corner is, when the fight is not going on, they're over there by the stairs.
Yes.
The judge is right there.
Yep.
The judge is just a few feet over. And
Yeah.
if they're like enthusiastic, like, yes, you got it, you got it, you got it. Those judges, a certain percent, let's say 30, don't know what the fuck they're watching. And so they're very susceptible.
Can we say a name? No, I'm just
No, let's not say any names because I know what we'd say. We'd all say the same name, unfortunately. Nice lady. Anyway, this fucking situation, there should be way better judges for sure.
Yeah.
I think guys who are former fighters, guys who are martial arts experts, guys who like really care about the sport. You have no shortage of them. You can go to any MMA school, any jiu-jitsu school, any kickboxing school,
Any website.
any website all across the country, and you will find hundreds and hundreds of qualified candidates.
Yeah.
People that will tell you why that's a bad decision. People that will tell you why that doesn't work. People that tell you why this shouldn't mean anything. And we don't have that right now for no reason. There's like zero reason. It doesn't make any sense. It's not like, well, man, there's not enough money. Like, what? No, there's enough money for it. This is just crazy. This is no reason. It's not like, well, water's wet and that's just how it goes. No.
I think it would be a good thing also now that like the second generation, I have like in my head, I have this 3 generations of MMA, and that's where we are now in the third, starting to move into the fourth. And I feel like with the first 2 generations being done pretty much,
Yeah.
like there's a lot of guys that are highly qualified to judge.
Way more.
Then
the sport is giant.
Yeah.
There's so many good writers out there.
Yep.
If you read MMA articles, they're really good writing, and a lot of these like mainstream websites. It's like a lot of experts out there talking about stuff. That's why a fight like next weekend is so fascinating, because between Tony and Khabib, nobody knows what the fuck is going to happen. It's one of those fights where everybody's like, damn, I don't know. And you got all these people breaking it down on one side, and then you got people making compelling arguments on the other side, and you're like, okay, this one's going to be weird.
I've been bouncing back and forth between my pick for that fight, but I guess because I've been bouncing back and forth, this isn't necessarily where I'm going to stay, but
Right.
I feel like, okay, I don't see how that can change. But again, like you said, there are people that are making these arguments, and if somebody convinces me of something that kind of defeats this argument, then it's like, man, now you've opened the door for this again. And what I think is like, my first thought was, Khabib is this guy, he takes everybody down and he controls you and beats you up,
Yeah.
right? And you think he's going to do that. And then, but Tony is this guy, he just does not, he's like one of these submission first kind of guys. Remember
Yeah.
that argument, submission or position? Tony
Yeah.
isn't too worried about position. He'll create scrambles. He's aware of where he is at all times and what he's giving up. So I feel like he would just continue to scramble. He'd be able to get back to his feet at least. And then I go back to Khabib and seeing Tony against Kevin Lee. And Kevin Lee kind of controlled him early in that fight. He was able to pass his guard and do some good controlling things. Now, if a guy like Khabib can do that, right, then he's not getting back up. And Khabib is going to be able to take him down. He is the best wrestler in the game, like
Without a
bar none,
doubt.
you know?
Good arguments. Good arguments. I think another argument is that when Kevin Lee fought Tony, I think everybody knew Kevin had a staph infection. I knew. I saw him walking in the cage. I looked at his chest.
Yeah.
I was like, holy shit, that guy's got staph. I knew he was going to be weak. I knew in compared to the Kevin Lee, the destroyer that you see when he's on point and in shape, it's like this guy's going to be compromised.
Yeah.
And he's also a big 155, so it's a hard cut for him. Whereas Tony makes it. I mean, Tony can get pretty heavy, but he's super disciplined. He makes it easy. Tony's endurance, his endurance is off the charts.
Yeah.
Off the charts, impeccable. He was posting the other day that he went on a six mile run at 1 o'clock in the morning. He's like, extra credit. He wrote hashtag extra credit. I mean, he's an animal. I mean, Eddie Bravo trains with him up there in Big Bear all the time. He says he's never seen anything like it. So the dude is just, everybody else is like pacing everybody up the hill, coming back down. They're still trying to make it up the first time. He's running past them the second time. He's a fucking animal. Like
he wants it.
Oh, he wants it bad. Yeah. But so he knew that Kevin going into that fight was compromised. So if he knew Kevin was compromised, maybe he decided to just let him work that first round.
Yeah.
You know, and Kevin's no joke. Kevin's fucking dangerous.
Yeah,
He's very
is.
skilled, very aggressive, very strong, very dangerous. You know, so Tony, he got in bad positions in that fight, though. Didn't he get mounted in the first round?
He got mounted. His guy got passed pretty easily early in the fight. But that's crazy because if he did take that time off, even knowing that a guy like Kevin Lee was, you know, compromised, that's still a high level guy to be. I'm gonna take this time off.
Yeah.
Be a little bit laxed.
Yeah.
You know,
Who knows? I mean, it might just have been Kevin is that good. I really wish that fight took place with Kevin healthy. Really wish that fight took place with Kevin. I think Kevin is an interesting guy because he talks a lot of shit.
Yep.
He's really aggressive. He fights well. He looks the part. When you look at him, he's fucking jacked. You know, that's a bad break for a dude like that. He had like a golf ball growing out of his tit.
Yeah.
That was crazy.
I mean, it could happen again relatively soon, depending on how his fight with Barboza goes.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. That's an interesting fight for Barboza, too. Barboza's got to recover from that mauling that Khabib put on him. Yeah. That was horrendous. That's their common opponent, too, with Tony.
Yeah, exactly. And I want to look back at the Barboza fight, but when I did look at it, he defended some of those takedowns early, you know, and I mean, it's against Khabib. Now, yes, you can defend, you're going to be the strongest in the first round,
right?
But still, there's not a lot of people defending Khabib's takedowns.
No.
You know?
There's a great New York Times article that was just on like 3 or 4 days ago about wrestlers from Dagestan.
Yeah.
And about how wrestling is their way out because so many of them trying to prove themselves, they wind up joining those Islamic terrorist groups. And that these coaches try to take these young, aggressive kids and give them something else, and give them another alternative. Really, really well-written article. Interesting stuff about like how powerful these guys are and how young they get them into it. And when you see Khabib, the thing about him is like he's not doing different things than everybody else. You know what I mean? Like, some people are doing different things, like Wonder Boy's doing different things. Like he stands totally sideways, his hands are down, he's throwing front leg side kicks. Yeah. He's doing a lot of different things. You're like, oh, okay, this is a new thing to adjust to. Khabib's doing standard shit, but he's just doing it at not just a notch, but several notches past what everybody else is doing.
I think that's the thing about these Dagestani guys. It's crazy because like this American wrestling style, folk style wrestling of being on top and having that control, that's a big deal. But like Nick Lentz, that's one of his strengths. Like when Nick gets on top of you, it's like a dwarf, you know, like he's not going anywhere. But he can also escape that a lot of guys. Same thing with Mike Brown. But Nick Lentz got ridden out at in the fight in Brooklyn. I forget which card Holly Holmes and Jermaine Durandamy. You know, that card.
He won by guillotine, right?
No,
is that the one?
Lentz lost.
Which one? Which fight?
I forget who he fought. I forget. He fought a Dagestani guy.
Oh,
but he just got ridden out against his own style. Like that's what I'm saying.
I see what you're saying.
These guys are better at what the American style is. But like for something like that, I want to see one of those guys against a guy like Gregor Gillespie. Yeah, you know, because that style of wrestling, of being on top and grinding on you, that's a high level wrestler like that. You know, a four-time All-American national champion kind of guy with that kind of conditioning who's not going to break. Right. I want to see that battle. That's like, because that'll be like a national championship with two guys that can punch and kick a bit.
Well, like a guy like Jordan Burroughs, or Burroughs getting into MMA.
Yeah.
Like what happens when he fights one of those Dagestani guys?
Yeah, exactly.
But see, there's Dagestani guys, and then there's Khabib. He's another notch above them.
Yeah.
He's a notch above them. Like, there's a lot of those guys that are real good. They're real tough, you know? but he's another level.
He is a scary level. I when you see him on top of guys like especially the Michael Johnson,
Yeah.
that was
Helpless.
That was mauling, man.
Horrifying.
And having a conversation with him, like,
Yeah, you
pleading
must
with him
quit.
to give up.
You must quit. Title shot is mine. You know title shot I deserve. Bam! Just keeps, and he's got his arm tied behind his back. He's punching him in the face. It's horrific.
Yeah.
It's horrific. I mean, he can do shit to you that it's like white belt, black belt beat ups.
Yeah,
It's
against the best guys in the world.
Against the best guys in the world.
That's
Michael Johnson clipped him though. But here's the thing about that fight, which is interesting to me. Khabib came into that fight with the same problem he went into the Tony Ferguson fight that was canceled. He cut too much weight, and his liver apparently shut down making weight for that fight. So then they went into the next fight, and he didn't make weight at all.
Yeah.
He got rushed to the hospital. Then he hires a nutritionist, looks fucking fantastic against Barboza, has zero problems making weight. Now he's got it all under control. But you got to wonder if he was compromised in the Michael Johnson fight, how much of a factor did that play?
Into him getting stunned.
Yeah, he got clipped.
Yeah.
He got clipped. And you know as well as anybody that when you're dehydrated or you have been dehydrated, you just don't take a punch as well.
Yeah. Dehydration, conditioning, those things, those things help you recover when you're hydrated and your conditioning is up to par.
Yeah.
I don't know. You've seen him take some punches. He always backs guys up. He's always coming forward, and he does eat a lot of shots coming forward. But if his conditioning is fine, and that's the only time that I can remember him getting hurt in a fight from taking shots. Like the same thing with Barboza. Barboza was throwing at him hard, especially
Walked it
early.
Off.
Yeah,
walked off everything.
He's like a zombie.
He got wheel kicked a couple times. It's nothing.
Yeah.
Clubbed in the back of the head with wheel kicks. Nope, sorry. Not today. just constantly charging forward, man. He's a fucking tank. Terrifying guy.
Yeah.
But this is the fight, to me, that's most intriguing other than him fighting Conor. Him fighting Conor for the name value is like chaos, right?
Yeah.
Like, holy shit. Like, they might do that if he wins.
That'd
they
be
might
awesome to do that in Russia.
Dude, if they do that in Russia, Conor better bring his own food. I'll tell you that. He better bring some fucking corned beef and cabbage right from the motherland. You don't want to take any chances.
Yeah.
But when Khabib's fighting Tony, the thing about Tony is that Tony's so creative. Like, he's very unpredictable.
Yep.
You don't know what he might step in and throw an upward elbow. He'll do all kinds of weird shit. He'll do Granby rolls on you. He'll dive for a leg. He might try to take Khabib down. Who knows what he's going to do? And stand up, he's got legit knockout power.
Yep. Legit.
And he can take a shot. Rolls with punches real well. Doesn't mind when he gets hit hard. He just kind of rolls with shit, comes back. Like the Barboza fight. The Barboza fight with him was a very interesting fight.
Yeah. That fight was fun to watch. Like I can't remember all the details right now, but I remember thinking, I remember tweeting, man, I'm watching this and these guys are savages. I can't believe I fought one of these dudes. And then Daddy Castillo was like, man, I fought them both. But yeah, that fight was fun to watch, and that's that common opponent thing that you say, and
yeah.
I don't know. It's one of those things also, though, because the rule. Fighter A, B, C, that thing doesn't play
matter,
out.
yeah.
Like Stout beats, Jeremy Stevens beats Stout. I beat Jeremy.
Yeah.
And Jeremy
Yeah.
and Stout beats me. It's this crazy thing where it just doesn't add up.
It doesn't add up. MMA math just doesn't work. It's one of the reasons why someone like Khabib is so impressive. It's because he beats everybody.
Everyone.
Undefeated.
Yeah.
Who the fuck is undefeated at that level of the game? I think he has 25 victories. Is
25-0.
25-0.
Like him and that's the other thing. Like I still call I call him one defeated because
John Jones, he's undefeated in my book.
Yeah,
that's nonsense. You don't win
exactly.
when you get smashed.
Exactly.
He dominated that fight 100%. It's a goofy rule, and I don't even know if he totally violated it. I mean, he's trying to get through the guard while he's finishing a guy. The guy's covering up. Stupid. It makes me mad.
I feel like I hit a nerve with that one.
The 12-6 elbow makes me mad. Because it makes me mad because it's still there.
Yeah.
Because they changed the rules. Like, they went through this new unified rule system. I'm like, oh, this is good. We have some new regulations as far as, like, putting your hand on the mat and taking a knee.
Yeah.
Like, when can you hit a guy with a knee? Now it's one hand. Now you can do it with one hand. Great. I like that. What? Down a 12-6 elbow still in?
See, here's what I've learned since I've retired is that all of these formulas fit into something else. So right now you're like, well, you change this one thing, well, all of this other shit is wrong. Well, you look at society and you look at the world, right?
Right.
And like these little changes are what happens. It's never everything that's wrong isn't fixed at all times. It's always this one little thing is fixed. This other little thing is fixed. This other little thing is fixed.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's going to take a while. It'll happen eventually, but man, there's so much in this. Like there should be something that changes every year.
Yeah, I agree. I think they've got to figure out something with eye pokes.
Yeah. I feel like there's, I think I don't know, it may have been you. I feel because it was an announcer or a commentator or something talking about it, but having like a glove just that covers the fingers, but it doesn't really change anything. Even so much so that like it's a webbing.
Yes.
And that your fingers are still virtually individual, you know, but you can bring them all down together, or you can just put those two on, and these two are going to be tugged at, but it takes no effort.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Something's a covering like that with the padding over the front so that it doesn't go in the eyes as a single point. You know, but is there anybody even playing with prototypes or something like that and doing an exhibition or demonstration?
It's a good question.
You know?
I haven't seen anything compelling. I haven't seen anybody come up with anything. Yeah, it was my idea. My idea was to have it like a old school bag glove.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, like those
Or
old
oven
school. You
mitt
see
almost.
Joe Louis with those old school bag gloves. It's a very thin glove that
Yeah.
would like cover the tips, and they used to hit the bag with them back in like the fucking 20s.
Yeah, it was just like leather.
Yeah.
That's all. And maybe that's what it is. Like
Yeah.
keep
still
the
grab.
glove and just kind of
Yeah.
a topping of that type thing
Yeah.
with it.
And
That
like-
makes so much sense.
Like, yeah, why would the tips of the fingers, like, you don't, in grappling, you never use individual fingers.
No.
You cup, everything is done like this.
Yeah.
It wouldn't change anything.
Nothing at all.
It wouldn't change a single thing.
The only thing it changes is yeah, because it doesn't even change this grip.
No.
Oh.
And still, it makes it better,
Yeah.
honestly. You have more grip.
Yeah.
Like, if it's like, suede type
Yep.
material, like something that's a little rough, you could actually get
Yeah,
good grip.
that's true.
It would help grappling because gloves definitely hurt some submissions. They get in the way of rear naked chokes. It's one of the reasons why George's submission over Bisping was so impressive, because he went this way. You know, he went deep back of the hand to the back of the neck, the real way, which sometimes you don't see because the guy can't get the glove in there.
Yeah, that's the one that's on the display image of like
Yeah.
know of jiu-jitsu chokes.
Yeah, I mean, that one was fucking tight. That was crazy to watch George do that. But yeah, they got to figure out something. You don't need to have these open. It doesn't affect wrist control. It doesn't affect any kind of grappling. And in fact, it would make it better. What is Bellator?
Those ones they had.
Yeah, Bellator has done what Pride did, where they curved it. I like it. They're using Everlast. Everlast is their glove manufacturer. And obviously, they make fucking killer shit. But what they're doing is having it so it's more difficult to open your fingers up. That's a smart move. It's a little thicker too.
And you
it looks
didn't
like.
you didn't see a lot of eye pokes in
pokes.
Pride.
No, you
either.
didn't. That's the point, right?
Yeah.
It was the UFC. Those gloves. It's almost harder to close than it is to open them.
Yeah, and then I don't know. I feel like maybe it was just the commission, but I feel like, you always break your gloves in. You try to break them in a little because they're stiff when you first get them. They're new. But there was at least one commission. They wouldn't even let us break the gloves in. They wouldn't give you the gloves. You didn't get them until you put them on.
That must be some amateur shit. Like some commission that doesn't know what they're doing yet.
You know what commission doesn't know what they're doing? Not the commission. The hospitals after the fight itself in New York.
Really?
Man, in Brooklyn, I had the crazy. Well, it wasn't me. Dustin Poirier had the craziest trip. So after that fight with Jim Miller, with all those shin kicks,
Right.
they both went to the hospital with the calf kicks, and Dustin's calf and shin was swollen, and they were giving him some morphine in the truck. We got there, and the doctor came in, and they wanted to perform a surgery on him there. They wanted to slice his shin open, and relieve the pressure, because they were saying you're going to lose nerve tissue and your nerves are going to die, and if you start not feeling, when they go, there's no coming back. You can't fix those things. they were really pushing for this thing. It was a crazy situation, right? So we're like, hey, Dustin, man. And then I called Mike Brown back there, and we started having this discussion about it's just like it's leg kicks. We've seen this all the time in the thigh and whatnot. No, and they're not. And Dustin was like, yeah, I don't want to do that. Then they started. He was like, yeah, I want to get out of here, basically. And he was like, can I just have something for the pain? And it felt like they were like, no. They said no. We're not going to let you leave here on pain medication. And I felt like they were trying to keep him, entice him to stay with fucking pain medication. It was just a really weird situation. And we were there for way too long. And they were really pushing for this. Like 3 different doctors came in trying to convince him to get this surgery done.
Whoa.
It was crazy.
Just for some swelling?
Just swelling in the calf.
That doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't. I honestly, like,
why would they think that it would cause nerve damage to have so much swelling?
The swelling was pushing up against the blood vessel supposedly, and there wasn't circulation coming through. That's what was happening.
Oh.
This is what and this is like over a year ago, so I'm trying to remember exactly. And I'm not a doctor,
right?
But the swelling, and they were asking him about because he was having some loss of sensation, right, in his toes, but he had just fought, and they'd given him morphine and all this other stuff. So they were poking at his toes with a pin or something. You feel that? And he's like, yeah, a little bit, no, all these different answers. And they claimed to be concerned about it. They were telling him that this is a possibility and this is what's going to happen, and we want to prevent it. They weren't like, well, this is guaranteed that this is what's going on. This is just a realistic possibility, and we want to prevent it. Oh. And it was just like he wanted to wait as long as possible, and they just seemed to be really pushy about wanting to do this.
So where were they going to make the incision?
In the shin, up the shin.
How big?
Straight, like
How
big?
It was big.
It was as long as my phone.
What?
So that's why we were like, yeah, this is kind of crazy.
And they would just want to drain it?
And they want to drain it. They want to release the pressure, right? And then they were like, well, there's a test that we can do.
Can't really see it from that angle, but
it was so much
nasty.
worse in the hospital.
Yeah, it was nasty.
They were like, when Dustin was like, I don't like that idea. I don't want to do that. And they were like, I don't think that. Let's just wait. And he's like, they were like, well, there's a thing that we can do, but we have to take a needle. And they wanted to take a long needle, stick it into his leg, past the bone, into the muscle, and like do a pressure test on it.
What?
And he was like, "Yeah, I don't like." It was crazy because he doesn't like needles, right? Dustin hates needles. And I'm like, all those
Covered in
tattoos. Yeah.
Fights for a living, scared of needles.
I'm the same way about needles, but I don't have the tattoos that kid has. But he's just like, I don't want to do that. I don't want. Like, he's like, no, because the needle it would have been this much inside his shin.
Like
that
5
much needle.
inches?
Yeah, I don't know how long it would have been, but
big, a lot.
It was
in there.
Yeah, it wasn't just like looking for a vein.
And they were just testing for pressure.
They were like talking. They were saying they wanted to test.
Got a tire gauge in there and shit.
Exactly.
What are they doing?
So anyway, that didn't happen. Dustin started getting frustrated, and they were really pushing for it. It was late at night, and I don't think I was helping the situation because I was like, these guys are probably interns. They're probably back there with like a chart, and they're like they get bonus points for whatever surgery they get.
You never know, man. People are really skeptical about that kind of stuff, but I mean. They definitely do surgeries on people that you don't have to. Some doctors do. It definitely can happen. You would hope that you're not running into one of those doctors, but they have done it before.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a doctor that just got arrested recently, and there was a whole story about all the different surgeries that he did that he didn't have to do, and including cancer surgeries. Like he removed cancer on people that didn't even have cancer. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a scam artist.
Doctor starts driving a fat Mercedes. Got to make those payments.
He should have just got into the plastic surgery business.
I know, right? You could talk those crazy ladies into anything.
Yeah.
Anything and everything.
You need to take some of that meat out of your butt and put it in your lips.
Yeah, that's the move. Meaty butt lips. So were they icing the shin the entire time?
They were. They had ice on it. They had a drip for like a morphine drip to kill the pain.
Why didn't they just wait a couple days? Why they want to just go right into it right now?
They wanted to do it that night, and they said
weird.
they didn't want to. The reason why they didn't want to wait was because when the nerve damage happens, when the nerves die, that's it. They're dead. There's no way to
Right.
to bring those things back. So,
Man, I just I wonder if that's right. I don't want to be talking shit about the doctors.
It's not right because Dustin fought again after that, and he's still fighting,
later.
and he's fighting in a few weeks.
Like, when was his leg better?
Shoot, he got on the plane the next day. So I had real quick little side note. I had some problem. I was helping him for that camp, and I had an injury, and I got Tylenol with codeine in it, and man, that stuff that's powerful medicine.
How powerful is it?
It was. I was like, I couldn't. Dustin took me to the hospital, and I went in. I was in so much pain, and they were like, they prescribed that. I took one pill, and about 20 minutes later, I was like, this is the first time I was able to relax in like 3 days. The pain was so bad, and I was like, when I got to the end of my thing, I had like 2 pills left, and I was like, I don't need them. I'll keep them in case I get hurt again at some point, And fortunately, I had them because I was like, dude, like that pain that you're going through when you get on the plane. Because in Japan, I had busted my foot, and then I had to fly 16 hours, and my foot was swelling on the plane.
It's the pressure of being high altitude.
It was miserable. It started in my foot and my ankle, and it swelled up into my shin and all the way down into my toes. Ooh. But it was so I was like, I don't want that to happen to you. So like it's going to be miserable. Just take this with you and take a pill. He just took one pill. He said it was a great feeling. It helped with the flight.
I got a hold of some of that old school NyQuil back in the day. I've only taken it like maybe 2 or 3 times ever in my life, but the last time I got some was like 20 years ago. I was sick, and I took old school NyQuil, and I was lying in bed, and it was like my bed was just hugging me. My bed was made out of love, and it was just hugging me, and I was like, I didn't give a fuck about that cold. I was just so relaxed. Like, old school NyQuil's amazing.
I remember that.
That's codeine, right? Isn't it?
I think codeine was a NyQuil.
Ooh, it was nice.
Man, back in the day, Tito Ortiz, I called Tito at one point because I was real sick. I had a fight coming up too, and I was like, man, I don't know what to do. He's like, here's what you do. You take 3 packs of Theraflu, and you put that in 1 cup of water. Right?
That's some Huntington Beach doctor talk.
So he's like, you boil the water, and you pour that, and you put 3 packs of Theraflu in there. I was like, I started to do it, and I was like, man, Tito's a light heavyweight. I'm gonna do 2.
That's a good move. I'm glad you did that.
I'm glad I did it too, because I was out for 18 hours. Man.
Wow.
I laid down. I woke up, and I felt like I just don't want to get up. And I was in bed for 18 hours. I did wake up feeling better though.
I would imagine. And you probably weren't thinking about the cold at all.
No.
So the stress was gone, and you're getting that rest. You're out cold.
And I was laid out.
That's one of the best. That's one of the best arguments for like cold medicine is that they let you go to sleep. Like, if I'm sick and miserable, I can't fucking sleep.
Yeah.
But if you take something, you just fucking Theraflu's a good one. It cleans you out, like you could breathe, and you just conk the fuck out.
And isn't that when you
what is this, Jamie?
That old school NyQuil, it had pseudoephedrine in it, which is what is used to make meth.
Oh, Jesus. Well,
doesn't meth keep you up though?
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
It's a stimulant. Yeah.
It says Sudafed.
Oh, I get to Google what it was. This is what.
Yeah, but Sudafed is not NyQuil.
No.
Sudafed's very different. Sudafed's a stimulant. Sudafed is the stuff that cleans your nose out.
Right. This is what.
The
original NyQuil had pseudoephedrine in it.
Oh, the original
wow.
NyQuil. The original Green Death formula NyQuil is behind the pharmacy counter now because, gasp, it has the evil pseudoephedrine in it.
Yeah, I was looking up.
Oh, so you can buy that shit still?
Some people were looking. I was finding an article. Someone was looking for it in New York.
That's 2013. I got to get a good doctor.
You might be able to find some still.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. That stuff fucks you up.
Yeah.
You go deep with that stuff.
I think it's the chemical that it's mixed with.
Right.
Probably fucks.
It's the pseudoephedrine is probably what keeps you alive. the codeine wants to drag you down into the grave. The pseudoephedrine shit keeps you alive.
That's the thing about sleeping though, right? That's when your body everything else is off.
Yeah.
So all your body can do is heal.
You know what else happens, man? You make good decisions. Like that term, sleep on it, that's not a joke.
Yeah.
There's something about going to sleep with a problem, waking up in the morning, and you have a new perspective. You're like, it's not that big a deal. Or, it's all right. I don't care. Or, or maybe I should do something about this. Or maybe I should apologize. Maybe I should, something about sleeping on something. I don't know what it is, man, but it gives me a truer compass as to which direction I should go.
There's a thing about that, too. There's sleeping on it. I had to teach myself some things about like car mechanics, and I had a problem. Somebody was like, "That's your alternator." It's like, what? Because my engine wouldn't stay on,
Right.
It was like, really? It's like, how much does that cost? And I was broke. I was just fighting. There was no UFC even on the horizon yet. I'm like, how much does that cost? I was like, too much. Shit. I was like, he's like, I can do it for you. He's like, you can do it? It's like, how much you gonna? I was like, I can't afford that either.
Right.
But if you can do it, I'll figure it out. So I went to the store. I was like, hey, I need to buy an alternator for this model car. They were like, okay. They bring it out and they're like, they weren't going to give it to me because you have to give them the other one back. You have to exchange it.
Really?
Yeah. Like at least this is the way it was in like 2000 Texas,
Okay.
So but fortunately, one of the managers at that store was one of my students. It was right across the street from my gym. So he was like, here, you can take it. Just bring the alternator back. I was like, awesome, because I didn't know what an alternator was. My plan was to grab it, go look in my engine, and find the like thing. You know? So that's what I did. I found the like thing. I put it in there. I changed it. I took the other one back, but I couldn't get the belt on.
Of course.
I did everything. I was trying to do everything, and somebody was like, the tensioning bolt. And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. And I slept on it. I went to bed that night. I went to sleep, and I woke up, ran downstairs, connected it, because overnight, there was something about being relaxed and not being like stressed about trying to find it right now. It's right in front of me. I'm just away from it, and I see the whole engine in my sleep, and it's like, you put the ratchet in there, and you pull on it, and that's the tensioning bolt.
I have a crazy spiritual idea about that. I think when you go to sleep, you go into the spirit world. When you come back, you're refreshed. I think you live a new life every morning. I think you live on the momentum of your past life, but I think you have a new life every morning. You just return from the spirit world with the mess that you left behind. You got to clean it up. Clean it up and figure it out. And like, oh, yeah, I should have just cranked that bolt over there. Okay. It all makes sense.
There's something to that because I got some stuff going on now where I'm just like, when I wake up the next day, I'm like, you know what? It's not that big of a deal.
It's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
Most things are not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
If you're still alive and you're walking around and talking, ultimately it's not that big of a deal. Like I give things like the 10-year test. Like if you look back on 10 years, how much of a big deal is this going to be?
Yeah.
Not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
It's a fucking alternator. Not that big of a deal. The 10-year test is a good test.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. But people operate on momentum. That's a big problem with people. Like when you go to bed, you wake up in the morning, you just still got the shit that you left behind the day before piling up, and bills you got to pay, and chores you got to do, and all these different tasks that need to get done. Like, fuck. Like you can never get behind it.
It's a good day when you feel like, okay, everything's done.
Yeah.
And like this day is completely mine.
Yeah, man. That's to have like a clean slate in your mind in terms of things you need to do. There's no way to underestimate that. Yeah. That's giant. You can't underemphasize how important that is.
Yeah.
Or overemphasize, rather.
I completely agree with that. I'm one of those guys that my brain, I feel like as soon as I wake up, first thought leads into the next, and you can't stay ahead of it. Mm-hmm. And not staying ahead of it, you're kind of being dragged along, being pulled by these thoughts in all these different directions, especially when I'm trying to organize something. Sometimes if I don't have a list or something like that, I'm not going to get, if I have 5 things to do, I'm going to get 1 thing done if I don't have a list.
You know what changed a lot of my life? I started working out early in the morning. My day almost always starts out. Today's one of the rare days where it didn't. Like today I'm going to work out after the podcast. But most days I get up in the morning and I work out. And the only reason why I didn't do it today is because everyone in my house is sick. Everyone. And I wanted to get some sleep.
Yeah.
My kids are little petri dishes, man. They're just always sick. Everybody's sick. So I'm the only one so far that's been able to fight it off. And I woke up yesterday and I'm like, ooh, I got a sore throat. Like, it's coming. And I fought it off yesterday, and I fought it off today. I got in the sauna, chilled out. But something changed in my life when I started working out in the morning. My thought process became clearer. It makes more sense because I clean out my mind when I work out. So I get up, and the first thing I do is just go work out and clean up my mind. My mind gets cleaned up. My body's like fully elevated in terms of like my heart rate got jacked up. I'm sweating like a pig. I already strained. I already pushed. I already got over some shit. I already made it to the end. And then, whoa. So there's already a victory by the time it's, 8 a.m.
Yeah.
That to me, like, then my day just starts off way better. Like, I start off with a clear perspective.
Yeah, I guess it's similar especially when I was fighting, because you woke up, get a run in, eat something, head to the gym.
Yeah.
And then you train. Now that especially
Did you run fasted?
Yeah, that would be the first thing I did. I'd brush my teeth and go for a run. I didn't like eating anything.
This is when you were living in Texas?
This is whenever. Like, even to this day when I run, like, especially in Texas, because in the summer,
It's hot as fuck.
you got to go early.
Got to
in the
get
morning,
it in before
right?
it turns into a barbecue outside.
Exactly.
But what I was going to say is in Texas, you're mostly flat. It's mostly flat.
Yeah, especially in Houston. Austin has some hills, but Houston is the only hills in Houston are the overpasses on the
Right.
highway.
But now that you're out here, man, there's some ferocious trails you can run.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a hill on my street that's a quarter mile.
Oh,
that's miserable.
Yeah, there's some miserable shit in the Hollywood Hills. Like, whoa. Yeah, if you wanted to get at the bottom and do some sprints going up it, that's so good for your knees too, because you're not really stomping down. You're
pushing up.
Yeah, you're pushing up. So it's basically like doing a bunch of lunges.
Yeah. Yeah, you feel it in your ass.
Dude, my ass is way bigger than it used to be. Looks good.
There was a drill. I did this a couple of times. They would incline the treadmill to its peak,
Yeah.
and then turn it up to like 12 or 10 or 12, and you're sprinting for like 15 seconds. That was miserable. You'd feel that really, really hard.
It's great until you fall off.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, how do you get off that fucking thing when you're sprinting?
You got to grab the edges and hop.
Dude, you know what I just started using the other day? It's a motherfucker. Is that Versa Climber.
Yeah.
Woo.
Yeah.
God damn.
I've never been on it for an extended period of time. Always in a circuit.
Oh. Yeah, I did it in a circuit too. It was the last exercise.
It's miserable.
I was like, motherfucker, this thing. Like, you do the first 2 or 3 strokes. You're like, I can get through this. And then you're like 10 in. You're like, oh, shit. And you're like, how much time I got left? 1 minute and 10 seconds. How's that possible? I'm like, I am not going to make 1 minute and 10 seconds of this.
It feels weird because, like, with every stroke, it doesn't. It's not heavy or hard to make the stroke. It feels like it's nothing, but you're also going nowhere.
Right.
It's just like you're making this motion.
And you
I
gotta
don't know.
look up to read the shit. You're like down here like this, like, how much time? How is that possible? I've only been doing this for 15 seconds. You know what, I like that, and there's a thing called the Echo Bike that Rogue makes that I have out here.
Okay.
Holy shit, it's an Airdyne, but it's like an Airdyne built for gorillas. Like, if you're gonna put an Airdyne machine into fucking gorilla cage, you'd make like this Rogue. I mean, it's a thick ass fucking steel thing with thick ass handles. Everything's like super beefy and jacked up. God damn, that thing kicks your ass.
You gotta show me that. I want to try it.
It's the shit, man. It's the shit. I do Tabatas on that, so I do 20s and 10s. 20 seconds work, 10-second break. Fuck. It's fucking hard, man. Those Airdyne machines they look like nothing. That's one of those things where you look at it, you're like, how can that be hard?
Yeah. It's hard too when you alternate.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you're riding them both together, but you're doing a conditioning workout, and your coach is standing right there, and you take your feet off of the pedals, and you're pumping with your arms.
Yeah.
That's miserable.
Oh, that's miserable as fuck.
That's so. And I also don't like. Not that I don't like it, but in the conditioning workouts, the parts that were so hard and kind of draining, that I don't know what you call it, but it's with the hydraulic presses.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's miserable too, because every direction, there's no rest on that machine.
Yeah,
there's none.
It's kind of crazy when you go back and look at like old school strength and conditioning workouts that fighters used to do, and comparison to all the crazy shit that guys do today.
Which camp? Well, it's an argument.
It's okay.
But which camps? I'll go with camps because I feel like there's two. Which camps really started the conditioning thing? Who were ahead of the game?
I always think of ATT. I always think of them because they were like when Lambert created that place. Dan Lambert, the fucking man. That guy's done a lot for MMA and doesn't get his horn blown enough. With all due respect. He put a shit ton of money into American Top Team, and one of the things that they did about it was make it a full, like they have everything. They have great wrestling coaches, great striking coaches, great jiu-jitsu, huge facility, everything's state-of-the-art. And I always felt like those guys were at a very high level early on. Like I remember Thiago Alves was making weight. This is back when like Thiago Alves was a gorilla. Remember how big he was at 170?
Yeah.
Remember when he fought Matt Hughes and he didn't make the weight and he looked like he weighed about 400 pounds?
Yeah.
He didn't even look like a human, man. He was so jacked. Well, he was making weight once, and it was a fight that they did, I think it was at the Hard Rock. I don't remember. But it was somewhere where they had, maybe it was at the Palms, somewhere where they had like the smaller ring, I think. I don't know why I remember this. But what I remember was he was warming up for that day's fight. He had made weight, and then after making weight, they had a workout that they would do to put weight back on him. And one of the things that they would do was really burn him out. So they had him, he was in the gym. I wish he was here. I could ask him exactly what this was because I'm talking many years ago. And he goes through this really hard pad workout. It's like, bam, 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 bam. And they were saying they wanted to pump everything up full of blood, and then they fill him up with carbs. And they would just, everything would blow back up. So like the muscles get super dehydrated because he's draining himself out big time. He was walking around north of 200 pounds, cutting down to 170. And then after the weight cut, they would swell him back up again. So they got to put 30 pounds back on him in 24 hours. And that was one of the methods that they used was exercise followed by fuel.
I guess it kind of makes sense, but it also confuses me.
It confused me too because I'm a dummy. And I was listening to him talking about this. I was like, okay, why is this? Like, what's happening? How are you doing this?
Like, I get the principle that you're saying, but what's the science behind it?
Right.
Because that's where I'm at.
Science, he looks like a gorilla when he fights.
Yeah.
I mean, he really put that weight back on well. And they had Gleason, and nobody is bigger at 155 than Gleason Tebow. Yeah. Gleason Tebow looks like a fucking light heavyweight. He's so big, and somehow or another he makes it down to 55. Like when he gets on the scale, it's like it's like Yoel Romero. When he gets on the scale, you're like, okay, am I seeing something wrong? Like, how is that 185? How's that possible?
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. Like, I'm watching him weigh in. He is 185. The guy says 185. He steps off, and you're like, what in the fuck am I seeing? How's that possible?
I get that. Like with Tebow, I've been in the locker room with Tebow a couple of times at ATT, and I'm like, hey, Tebow, what are you weighing right now, man? He's like, oh, my friend, like 190. I'm like, you're not 190. Get on the scale.
Bitch.
No, he don't want to get on the scale. I guarantee you he's like 210. Get out of here with that 190.
He's so big.
He's huge.
He's so big. Yeah. Look how big he is. Look at that fucking size of that
that's
guy.
That's a 155 pounder.
Look at the size of him. And he's, 5'8", 5'9".
Yeah.
Built like a tank. He's so big.
He's so strong, dude.
He's the most diesel guy that I've ever seen at 155. Like, that is about as thick as... I mean, there's no room for error there. And he made weight a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, he might have missed it.
He missed it like once or twice. But he made... Most of the time, Tebow made weight. It was miserable for him.
Well, go back to that one picture that you just showed. Oh, it's him fighting somebody. No, that one right there.
That's Tractor.
Yeah.
No, not Tractor.
No.
He just fought. Oh God, why can't
I know who you're talking about. Brazilian cat.
Yeah.
Masarumba. What's his crazy?
Masaranduba.
Yeah. What is that crazy nickname? God damn it! Why can't I remember his name?
Same here. Trinaldo. Francisco Trinaldo.
Yeah. Trinaldo fought 85 at
They both
UFC
did.
Brazil. Did he fight 85?
Tebow fought 80. Tebow fought 85, I believe. I know he fought Nick Diaz also at 70.
Crazy.
I feel like I don't know if Tebow fought in the UFC at 85 though.
No, I don't think he did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But when you were saying that thing about when you said about what you said about ATT, I agree. But I mean even further back than that.
The earliest guys?
Yeah.
Frank Shamrock was one of the
Frank
earliest
Shamrock,
guys.
and then and Milicic and those guys.
Frank Shamrock was the guy who really figured out conditioning.
Yeah. That's how he beat Tito the
Yeah.
first time.
Yeah, for sure. He was so small in that fight.
He was tiny, man.
He was like 190
Yeah.
in that fight. Tito was a gorilla. He was a big fella.
Yeah.
Wore his ass out. That was when the weight class was 200 pounds, too.
Yeah, you had to make 199.
Yeah. That was the early days.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was very different back then, man. I was scrolling through Fight Pass watching the whole the entire events. Then I get down to like 2000, like it's like you're scrolling through and it's like 2017. It has all these events across the screen. You got to scroll. 16, the same thing. 15, it starts going down. You get to 10, it's like it's still less, but you still got to scroll across the screen. Then you get to like 7, or you get to like 8, and it's like 5 events.
Right.
5 events, and that's it. You know, like I have 21 UFC fights under my belt, but there were 5 UFCs a year back then.
Yeah.
It's like now there's like 2 months you get like 6, 7 cards.
Well, I always
That's
felt
cool.
like you got fucked, and Josh Thompson and a lot of guys in your era, because they cut out the 55-pound division for a long time, and then you went out and fought up Bodog and all these other organizations. There was no 55 for how many years? Quite a few.
Yeah, like 2004 to 2005 to like 2010 for sure. Because they didn't
Damn.
come back until the Ultimate Fighter.
Yeah, like that's when Gilbert and Josh Thompson were having those epic wars over in Strike Force.
Yeah.
It's like those years, like there was those guys like you, Thompson, and I feel like Gilbert staked his claim in the UFC and had some epic fights in the UFC, but I honestly don't think we see the same Gilbert that we saw in Strike Force.
Yeah, no.
No one can say better than you, because you've been in there, that how much those wars will just take out of you.
They will. And a guy like the wars that Gilbert and Josh went through at Strike Force, and then Gilbert is that kind of guy. He's just like his fight
Blood
with
and
Diego.
guts, yeah.
You know, that's it. They're not backing down, and they got the chins to take it.
Yeah.
You know, there's not a lot of guys that can take it like that. I haven't been in a lot of wars that were back and forth. Even if the fight had some attrition, there was a lot of times it was I was winning the striking battle, and I
Right.
wasn't taking as many shots as those guys have taken.
Right.
And you have to have a chin to do that.
Yeah.
Man, like I couldn't imagine to this day I have like my record shows like 60 something fights. I have like 80 plus fights overall, and I still like I look at some of those fights like Diego and Gilbert, and I'm like, man, I'm so glad. Joe, I remember as a kid, I was laying on my couch watching Vernon White and Pancras, and I'm laying there watching, and he's getting his ass beat. And it gets to the 3rd round, and he turns it around, knocks the guy out, right? And I'm like, I roll off of the couch, I get on my knees, and I'm like, God, please let me have fights like that. Those are the kind of fights I want to have. Please, please, please. I'm like this young kid, you know, I want to do that. I want to have epic fights like that, right? But now that I'm done and I'm looking back at it, like there are times I watch that Stout fight, and when I get hit, I'm just like, oh, it still hurts. It didn't hurt then, but like it hurts now. Like I feel like a slight physical pain from it. Not like it breaks my heart. That part will always hurt. But I mean, like that looks brutal. It looks painful. It's not, but it looks that way. But you know those fights with Gilbert and like Gilbert and Diego, when they're still in it. That shit hurts.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, Gilbert didn't have to fight him that way. That's why it was so crazy. Yeah. Because if Gilbert decided to use his skills and fight a technical fight, he would have been, you know, he was the better fighter, technically at the time. But he just said, fuck it, let's go to war, you know?
Yeah.
It's I mean, it's just not a whole lot of people that are willing to do that.
Yeah, that I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
Like Aaron, like my fight with Aaron Riley, I was able to figure him out, and I could pick him apart. So, and Aaron is the kind of guy who would go to war with you. Like, if I figured you out, I'm not going to go to war. Like this I'm not giving you a chance. Fuck you.
Right.
You know,
Why?
that's the thing. Why? Like,
Yeah.
I don't have to prove to anybody else how much of a man I am. And on the other side of that, I don't like getting hit.
That shit's nonsense. That prove how much of a man you are by getting hit. That's nonsense. I like when guys like Gilbert choose to go crazy and go to war, but that's on him. That's because he wants to.
That is on him. But you know, like there's a guy who did something like that and he was willing to go to war, but you can see he still kept his technique when he went to war. And I'm talking about Max Holloway when he with
Ricardo Lamas.
when he's like right here, right now.
Yeah.
He started trading, but he wasn't just sitting in the pocket trading. He was throwing his, getting out, coming back, getting some, and getting out.
Yep.
And that's how you do that.
Yeah.
You know, you don't just sit there and go, okay, I got mine, now you get yours.
Yeah.
No.
Just bite down that mouthpiece and wing punches. Yeah, that I mean, that's Diego's specialty.
Yeah.
Diego's the best blood and guts fighter ever. I mean, every single fight he's ever had is blood and guts. I always go back to his fight with Martin Kampmann. Lost the first 2 rounds. He's got his face hanging off, like literally like a zombie.
Yeah.
And he's chasing after Martin Kampmann, and he wins the 3rd round. Wins the 3rd round against Ellenberger. He's fighting Ellenberger, who's at the time, a strong, powerful 170.
Yeah. Big puncher.
Diego's got his back in the 3rd round. He's beating him up. I mean, that's just blood and guts.
Yeah.
That guy's got more blood and guts than virtually like 99% of the population of the planet Earth.
Diego is one of those guys too that he's a scary individual when you look at him as like, okay, that's a potential opponent, especially in his prime. Mm-hmm. But away from that, he
Super
like
nice guy.
now he's a really, especially now.
Yeah.
I was when he fought Riggs, like I feel like those two kind of personalities, they're just going to be like at each other all the time. Mm-hmm. And you feel like that's how they're going to be always. But like a guy like Diego, like look at what he's doing with the guys in Albuquerque. I forget the guy's name, but he's helping out that guy that he's a big UFC fan.
The Down syndrome.
The Down
guy?
syndrome.
Yeah.
Kid, I don't remember how old he is.
Yeah, that's amazing.
But like he's committed to this. It's not like hey, check me out. I'm doing. You know what I mean?
No,
it's
he does
like,
it all the time.
Like
he's with the guy all the
he's
time.
I like Diego, man.
Yeah.
He's a good dude.
He's a very good dude. Yeah, that Riggs fight was crazy too, because Riggs never thought that Diego was going to KO him. He stepped in and KO'd him with a right hook, like early in the fight too. It's like, and Riggs is one of those guys that, see, I don't think that he ever totally showed in the octagon what he was capable of in the gym. And he also is a guy that peaked during kind of the Rich Franklin era.
Yeah.
You know, like when he fought Matt Hughes, didn't he miss weight when he fought for the title?
Yep.
He missed weight against Matt Hughes, and Matt Hughes Kimura'd him. But what I'd always heard is that Joe Riggs in the gym was a world beater.
Yeah.
Like people would spar with him, and they'd be like, "Holy shit! Like Joe Riggs is like a world champion. Like he's that good." And that he would be dusting up all these like really high level guys in the gym.
There's something though about being in the gym, and I know you know this, but the thing that about being in the gym versus being inside the octagon, it's that the stakes are real now.
Yeah.
Like in the gym, a lot of guys will open up more because you can't really lose there. You can't, you know. But when you're in the fight itself,
Yeah.
you kind of you don't want to pull all the triggers because if this bullet misses,
Right.
I'm exposed. I got no defense to that.
Yeah.
So you're not putting everything on the table that you would in the gym because the risk is so much greater. And I think that's where the guys who can perform, who step up to the game, I believe that's the aspect that they have to their game that's missing from some of these guys who are world beaters in the gym, but when they just can't bring it to the field.
Yeah, it's a mental strength for sure.
Yeah.
And it's a confidence in your technique and the outcome. Some people think that the world's against them. You know, there's an attitude that some people have, like, it never works out for me. I can't catch a break. But it's interesting because those are the guys that can't catch a break. And you always wonder, what came first, the chicken or the egg? Is it the attitude that is making their life this impossible puzzle to solve? Or is it they just keep getting shitty rolls of the dice? I think it's the attitude, probably. It's a snowball effect from the very first decisions you make real early on, especially when competing. You know, like everybody knows that there's times where you can quit. Everybody knows there's times where you didn't train as hard or you didn't push as hard or you didn't. And some people don't learn. Like they have those moments like when you're a little kid and, maybe you're wrestling or something like that and you got scared and you didn't perform well. And then you go back and you go, okay, that sucked. I don't want to do that again. I got to figure out how to fucking toughen up, or I got to figure out how to just perform. And some people just don't.
Some people just run away from it.
They run away.
They never see that thing again.
Yeah, it's like there's the weird little moments in fights that you could see happening where guys are exhausted, but they dig down. You know what fight I always call upon? Like, here's a dude who's got impossible mental strength. Darren Elkins. Mirsad Bektik. Mirsad Bektik is lighting him up like a Christmas tree in Times Square. I mean, he's just fucking him up. He is on point. He looks like a future champion. He looks fantastic. Darren Elkins won't stop. He won't stop. He keeps coming. He keeps coming. He's absorbing punches. He's covered in blood. He's getting punched and kicked and shinned and fucking elbowed. Keeps coming. Keeps coming. Keeps coming. Boom! He catches him. You see Bektik wobbling. You're like, oh no! Boom! Head kick. Like, what the fuck? Darren Elkins is pounding him out, and then the referee stops the fight, and then Elkins steps off him. It's like, rah! It's like, God damn, like that is the reward for having indomitable spirit. Like that is the kind of victory cry that you only get when you went through hell and you did not give up.
Yeah, that fight itself, after the second, I believe it was, you just like, this should be stopped.
Right.
This should be stopped. There's no chance, and I don't really want to watch him get beat up as much. So I'm like tweeting about the fight and watching, and I'm looking back and forth, and then holy fuck,
all of a sudden he
Massad's
catches
upside
him
down.
I love that guy. And then Elkins chokes out Michael Johnson. It's like, shows people he's got skills.
That's the other thing.
Here it is right here. I mean, Mirsad Bektik was super fucking talented. Like, just an undefeated coming into this fight. Darren was covered in blood, and he got crucifixed here, and he's getting smashed with punches and elbows. But Elkins, he's just one of those guys. Darren just doesn't give up, man.
And the other thing about Mirsad is I've trained with Mirsad. Mirsad trains hard. His conditioning, look at that. His conditioning is on point.
Look at this. Look at that scream, man. That's so crazy. You know, there's another scream like that when Kat Zingano beat Amanda Nunes.
Yeah.
That's another one like that.
I don't remember her victory.
Dude, that one is bone chilling. You hear the scream, you're like, whoa. Like, it gets your hair. Like, I got goosebumps just thinking about it.
Yeah.
Listen to that. Dude.
That meant a lot to her, man.
Dude.
You can hear it.
Yeah, dude. That's some shit you can't fake.
Yeah.
You know?
There's something about what you were saying, though, about people, like, walking away from these things. It makes me think of a kid. Sorry, this is going to be like a bunch of things tied into one thing, but babies, when they're first born, like, first thing that come out of babies is usually a cry, right?
Right.
And it's like, my thought on that is like, this is the first time they've felt anything outside of that womb, right? And they don't know what pain is, like a pain tolerance. The first time you got kicked, it hurt a lot more than it does now.
Yeah.
Right? So, like, every sensation is new for them, right? And then you're growing up, and you grow up to be these people, and your parents are telling you can do anything. But at the same time, they're telling you don't do that, right?
Right.
So it's like the mind is, your brain is this blank slate when you're born, and you get all these different influences, and this goes back to the people that are like, I can't catch a break, I can't catch a break. It's like, are we doing this right? Because for so many people to have this attitude,
Yeah.
you know, like where is that coming from? Because there are so many people like that, and then there are people that are like that at times, but they can either come out of it and start having good things, and then they go back into it and they bounce back and forth.
Yeah.
But why are people the way they are? Like the human mind, to me, is like the most amazing, confusing. Like it's everything, but like there's no rules.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's different. Everybody's similar, but everybody's different. And your attitude has a giant effect, not just on your life, but on other people's lives around you. That's the other thing about it. Those I can't catch a break guys.
Yeah.
Get them the fuck away from me. I can't be around those guys. I don't want to hear that shit. I don't want to hear that shit. I don't buy it. Because everybody has bad breaks.
Yeah.
I've had a shit ton of bad breaks. But you know what I did? I stayed up.
Yeah.
And I thought through it. And I figured out what the fuck I did wrong. And then I went back. It's like I fucked up everything I've ever done 100 times. There's no other way to do it. And I've had a bunch of shitty breaks. Everybody has. But you got to realize when you have those shitty breaks what that is. It's an opportunity for you to reassess, reboot, get better, figure out another way, find another way through. It's just little challenges. And the people that look at those challenges and go, why do I always have these challenges? They're cancer. Those people are dangerous to be around. They will rob you of your enthusiasm. They don't give you any fuel. They're the opposite of fuel.
Yeah.
Like the fuel people,
They're the hole in
the
the
people
tank.
that are kicking ass, the people that are out there just fucking hustling, always getting things done. The guy, like my friend Jocko, every morning I'll check his Instagram page, 4:30, shows a picture of his watch, get after it. He's out there working out 4:30 in the morning. He does it every fucking morning. Why? Because he doesn't want to. And that's how you do it. You go and get after it. You don't make any excuses. And those kind of guys are fuel. But those I can't catch a break guys, they're the opposite of fuel. They're just pissing on your fire. They're no fun. And then the people that surround them are all idiots. Because only idiots want to be around I can't catch a break guys.
Yeah.
Only the dummies stick around. After a while, even if they're your good friend, you got to be like, bro, you got to fucking stop. You got to stop with all this I can't catch a break bullshit. All the time you're complaining, you could be instead hustling. You could be instead chasing your dream. You could be instead figuring out what you're doing wrong, trying to improve certain aspects of your life, getting your shit together, reading a book, meditating, something. Fucking something. But this I can't catch a break shit is not helping anybody, and it pushes everybody away from you. But some people, they get caught in that pattern, and it might be their parents, it might be how they were raised, somebody might have told them they were useless real early on, it's stuck, and they never feel like they get enough reassurance. They never feel like they get enough motivation. And they feel like other people get more. And they look at all these other people. How come he gets that? How come she gets this? How come he's got that going on? And all that's bad for you too. That shit ain't no good for you.
How much of that is tied into not paying attention to yourself, not knowing yourself? You know, how much of that is tuned into or tied into you always on, like your brain always outside of yourself. You're flooding your brain with TV or
Right.
Instagram or this or
Yeah.
that, you know, and not something that even reading a book, I believe is different, or when you're watching TV, what you're watching. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? If you're watching something that has a message where you have to think, where you can see yourself in that, and you can put yourself in these situations, and you're like, oh, well, I can empathize with that, or I can this. But when you're just watching, spending money on cars and
Right.
making it rain and this and that, you know, I wonder how much of that, because like the thing that I've found is like entertainment isn't what it used to be. And this is, I'm gonna sound old as shit right now, Joe. Back in my day, entertainment wasn't what it is now. Now it's just like bright lights and flash and bombs,
Right.
versus like something that you could actually feel. I feel like it's a lot less of that.
Well, there's some entertainment that you could feel, like TV shows.
Yeah.
Like you can watch Black Mirror. That'll freak the fuck
Yeah.
out of you and make you
Yeah.
think. There's still some good shit that's being made. Stranger Things. There's
But
a lot
you
of
have to
good
go
shows.
find it so much
Yeah.
more. Like I feel like the bigger things, like the things that most people have access to, you know,
Yeah.
that I think that's what it is.
Right.
But is it that they have more access to that, or is that the easiest thing to consume?
It's very easy to consume. It's mindless, and everybody wants cars. Ooh, look at the car. Everybody wants money. Look at his money. You know, it's like
Yeah.
you just get sucked up in it, and it's a very low level frequency that everybody sort of has like a little bit of it. And you see some dude with his open shirt, all these chains, and all these girls behind him in their underwear. Everybody's dancing. It's like, this guy's life's a party. I wish
Yeah.
my life was a party. I can't catch a fucking break. I'm over here. I can't catch a break.
It's cool. It's cool sometimes, you know.
Yeah,
But like,
sometimes it's silly.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But there's a point. Like you know who's a deep guy? Fucking Schilling. And
Schilling's very deep guy.
Yeah, and he pointed this out to me through a different way. But there's a point where everything becomes a bad thing. There's a point where like humility is a bad thing. There's a point where having fun is a bad thing. It's like you can't like eating isn't always a pleasure. If you're constantly eating, if you're never hungry, you don't appreciate it as much as if you were hungry.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Because if you're starving and they feed you and you're full and you have to keep eating, that's not fun.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So there's this moderation thing that I feel that's missing, and I'm trying to find that balance for myself, man.
With what?
With life, with a bunch of different things, with how much time I spend doing this versus this, especially now that I'm not fighting, because that was, for a long time, that was the biggest part of my days, you know, just training and everything else. And now, like, I still get to train, but I have more time and a lot of time by myself in my own head. So I'm back to reading a little
Wasn't
more.
Schilling the guy that exposed that crying kid for being a racist, and his family was all, and then his mother said something like contacted Schilling about keeping money in with the whites or some shit.
Yeah, Joe reached out because he wanted to he wanted to like bring the kid out or train him or
Get
something.
him to a Bellator event.
Yeah.
The kid. It was a viral. We shouldn't pull the kid up, but
Keaton Jones.
He's a little kid. He's, I don't feel like we should give the kid any more exposure or hate or anything like that.
It's not because the kid didn't do anything wrong.
Right.
Right.
He was just crying about being bullied.
Yeah.
And everybody was like, "Oh, this poor kid." You know.
Now, I don't know the part of his part in the bullying thing, but what we're talking about is his mom's conversation with Joe, and that's where it got twisted.
And was that proven that it was his mom? It definitely wasn't someone trolling. Do we know that?
I don't know.
Everything is fucking a mystery today. Up is down, down is up. There's a lot of trolls out there, man.
I feel like there's been reports that it was, and there's reports that it wasn't, and I didn't pay so much attention to it that I could be like positive as to what the ruling was.
Yeah.
But the conversation that she had with Joe was because Joe reached out to bring him out, and she was like, "Look, I'm just trying to put some money in this account, basically."
Yeah.
And Joe was like, "Hey, I'm trying to give him something more valuable than money," and she said something.
She wanted a link to the
else.
GoFundMe. Right.
And then there was something else.
But Joe said, like, "What's the money going to? Like, you can't cure bullying with money."
Yeah.
Like, what do you?
But I forgot how it turned to
something
racial
about keeping
stuff.
the money within the whites.
Whites, yeah.
It was something along
Yeah,
those
she
lines.
said that. But I don't know, like why did she even bring that up? Like, what in Joe's context made her go to that card?
White dude, shaved head, covered in tattoos. She took a chance. She took a chance. She took a chance. She's like, white power. White power? What do we got? She went fishing. I don't know, man. I mean, maybe she's just a fucking dummy. I mean, the family has like Confederate flags and shit, and some of their photos. That's still on the flag, the state flag in Mississippi. Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
That's crazy.
See, that's crazy to me because like I didn't grow up knowing about that. Like as a kid in the Bahamas, like I didn't even know.
Right.
I knew
When
of
did you
the
come to
Confederacy.
America?
I came at 15.
Ah, yeah.
So like, the years when everything's being set, I was in the Bahamas, like into your brain. So when I got here, like I still had no idea what the Confederate flag was. I told these people, it's like, I didn't know a lot of U.S. history, We learned Bahamian history in the Bahamas. And when I got here, I didn't know anything about that. The Confederate flag didn't mean anything to me until I was in my 20s, man.
Wow.
And in Texas, to this day, my daughter, where she lives, where her house is, maybe like 4 miles away, I was visiting, and they're on the corner with a trailer out, and they've got like Confederate flags
For sale?
for sale on the corner, just lined up. They have them out, just lined them flying. People still drive around. I was in Florida with Dustin, and we were driving, and there was a truck with a U.S. flag posted on the back and Confederate flag. Not like posted on the car. I mean, on a flagpole. They're flying the flagpole as they're driving. So this is a real
even
thing.
if you love the South needs a new flag. Okay, you can't have a flag. I got no problem with you loving the South. The South's got a lot of great qualities.
Yep.
You guys need a new flag. You can't have the flag of the dudes who are fighting for slavery.
Yeah.
You can't have that anymore.
Joe, they weren't fighting for slavery. That's just what they tell you.
Yeah, that argument is a piss poor argument. That falls apart. That argument is one of the shittiest arguments, and people try to like soldier up and use big words and try to repackage that argument. They wanted slavery.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
They're fighting for economics. Yeah, slavery. They wanted people to work for free. That's like a big part of what it was. There was a lot of other shit going on as well. But that was a big part of it.
That was a huge part of it. And I mean, it's representative in the laws that came right after slavery was abolished.
Did you know that there's a reason why, when people think about people from the South, people think of them as being like slack-jawed and kind of stupid. That's like the worst stereotype, right?
Right.
Southern people,
Yeah,
like,
redneck.
hey, how y'all doing?
Yeah.
There was a hookworm epidemic in the South for years where a substantial portion of the population had hookworm, where they were walking around barefoot and they got shit in their feet,
Yep.
and those parasites infected their brain and compromised the way they think and severely diminishes your level of thinking.
So does that
Pull that shit up, Jamie.
Does that
that came out of a podcast, right? Didn't someone bring it up to us? I feel like it was Rhonda No? Was it Rhonda? Someone like that? Some smarty pants?
when that happens, does that however that affects your brain, does that pass on? You know what I'm
Good
saying?
questions.
Like,
In your
does it
loads.
change your DNA?
I bet it does. I bet everything changes your DNA. Here it goes. How a worm gave the South a bad name. Here it is. Make this shit a little bigger. For more than 3 centuries, a plague of unshakable lethargy blanketed the American South. It began with ground itch, a prickly tingling in the tender webs between the toes, soon followed by a dry cough. Weeks later, victims succumbed to an insatiable exhaustion and an impenetrable haziness of the mind that some called stupidity. Adults neglected their fields, and children grew pale and listless. Victims developed grossly distended bellies and angel wings, emaciated shoulder blades accentuated by hunching. All gazed out dully from sunken sockets with a telltale fisheye stare. The culprit behind the germ of laziness, as the South's affliction was sometimes called, was Nicator Americanus, the American murderer. Wow. Better known today as the hookworm. Millions of those blood-sucking parasites lived, fed, multiplied, and died within the guts of up to 40% of the population stretching from southeastern Texas to West Virginia. Hookworms stymied development throughout the region and bred stereotypes about lazy, moronic Southerners.
So as you're reading that,
Fuck.
yeah, that's gross. I remember learning about hookworms as a kid in the Bahamas, but as you're reading that, I'm like, you know what? Maybe I go through this whole thing in my brain as you're reading. Maybe if they didn't do what they did to the Native Americans, because those guys had moccasins, and they probably had moccasins because they learned about this a couple hundred years ago. You know what I
Right?
mean?
No shit, right?
Yeah.
If anybody was going to be barefoot, it'd be the Native Americans.
Right.
And they're like, no,
Nope.
dog, not a good move. Got to cover your feet, man. This bunch of shit gets in there and you get stupid and can't
Yeah.
figure out how to find the buffalo anymore.
That's where that's where sharing information comes in handy, man.
That's a good point. That's a real good point. Because I always think that when I see that those survivor dudes that like to walk around barefoot,
Yeah.
those crazy dudes that get the thick calluses in the bottom of their feet, ugh. And the idea is that, like, hey, if the world goes to shit, you're going to need to be able to walk barefoot.
Yeah, that doesn't make any
Sorta.
sense.
Maybe you make shoes, you fuck.
Like there's a bunch of shoes in warehouses at the world. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. If would you run out of shoes? I mean, if you found out the world was going to end and you bought 20 pairs of shoes, that might last you till you're dead.
Yeah.
Maybe. Depends on what you're doing. What kind of hiking?
If you're running a lot,
Yeah.
burn through those.
You're
Yeah.
gonna have to be on your feet more because you got hunt now.
That's true. You're going to have to be hiking. Yeah. Maybe you need more than 20. You don't need more than 50. 50 pairs of shoes for
but-
life.
Probably repurpose some too.
Yeah.
But that's what the Native Americans did, right?
Yeah. Moccasins. Yeah.
They used every piece of the buffalo.
Yeah.
You know.
They were smart too because they didn't develop like I'm on this barefoot running kick. I run with barefoot shoes.
Yeah.
I either run with those Vibram 5-finger which are my favorite, but when it gets muddy out, those don't have a lot of traction. And I like this other company called Vivo Barefoot. Plus, you don't look as dorky. The 5 fingers ones, you're committing to the project. All right, you gotta walk around with gloves on your feet. And people mock you mercilessly, like Jamie. He mocks me mercilessly. But the Vivo Barefoot ones are just like, they just have no padding. But they have good traction. So I like running in those too. But when you run in something that has no padding at all, all the muscles in your foot develop because your toes have to work and push. Whereas like these things are way stiffer than what I run with most of the time. These things are hard, man. It's like a cast. Like this shit is like a cast for your foot. You know, and so the idea is when your foot is in those kind of like a normal running shoe, it's not really squishing and pushing, and all your muscles aren't getting activated, and so they're just not as strong. They're just weaker, you know, and that it's not good for anything. It's not good for your balance. It's not optimum. I mean, it's better to run with running shoes on than not run, but in terms of like foot strength and like just maximize your ability to move correctly and have good balance, it's not nearly as good.
It's you can feel it too. When I first started doing MMA for a long time, until I went down to Florida and was at American Top Team, there were certain things that I didn't do without shoes on. Like if we were kickboxing, I would put on shins and I would wear my wrestling shoes.
Really? How come?
I just didn't like wrestling without my toes out like that.
Right.
You know, especially when I was throwing kicks and
Right.
whatnot. But over time, I got more comfortable with it. But over time, getting more comfortable with it, I could feel the difference when I would have my shoes on versus not having my shoes. Versus not having my shoes on, and I felt more dexterous. I felt more agile.
Yeah.
I felt more in connection with with the ground.
Yeah.
That's what I was doing.
Yeah, that's legit. That's that's what I do with these barefoot running shoes. I mean, I believe in them 100%. I think there's a bunch of good companies that make them. Morel makes some good ones too. But I just feel like we have too much padding on our shoes. I lift weights and do everything else totally barefoot. I just feel like, or I like Chucks, like Converse All-Stars.
Yeah.
Those are good too.
Yeah.
Because they're just flat. You know, those are good for lifting weights sometimes if I want like a little bit more. But most of the time I do it barefoot. I would say 99% of the time I do it barefoot. I think it's just better for your feet, you know? I just think the same thing what I was saying with gloves and punching, I just think it's unnatural. It's unnatural to have a bunch of shit underneath your foot. Your foot's not designed for that.
Yeah. Your foot. Yeah. When you say that, I start thinking about how people are designed and what people are designed for, and then
Right.
thoughts, and they go everywhere. Sometimes my thoughts like run into another. Hey, that's a good idea. Like they come together, right? But when you say that, I start thinking about when we talk about changing your DNA, where we started with the hookworm thing, and your feet. If you take someone from an area that is where they have to be agile and you take them to a place where you just have to be strong. You take a child from the agile area and you make him grow up in the strong area, in an area where you have to be strong, physically strong. How does that child fare in that environment as he's growing up? Does he adapt not as fast as the people that already have those traits, but does he adapt and be able to survive? And then can he go back to that to the agile lifestyle and take some of that strength?
Depends on how big he gets. You know, like if you were talking like strongman strength, those guys are not known for their agility.
Right.
They're giant. You know, there's a trade-off for sure. There's a power trade-off. You know, that's one of the things that's so terrifying about Francis Ngannou is that he's 270 pounds, cuts down to 265, but he moves like a panther.
Right.
It's like he's not missing anything. Like, you know what I mean? He's got ridiculous power, but he's also fast as fuck. Like that left hook that he hit Overeem with, it's like, Jesus, that's like a welterweight's left hook. Fast as fuck. But he's hitting you like a nuclear weapon. It's just a different kind of power on his punches, a different kind of power in his body, but he also has the ability to move fast like a smaller person. Most of the time when you get a really powerful person, there's some sort of compromise that has to be made.
Right. But what if you take? What happens when a guy like Francis Ngannou, you develop his wrestling so that it's like a Cain Velasquez?
Jesus.
You know
Could you though at 33?
Like that's the problem.
Yeah.
And
how much
does
he not like to wrestle? Because that was the word that I had heard, is that he wasn't doing any groundwork. There was very little groundwork being done. They were just trying to keep the fight standing. The problem with that is you can't just do what you like to do. You can't just do what you're awesome at. He's already awesome at putting people in another dimension.
Yeah.
I mean, he hits harder than anybody I've ever seen. I've never seen anybody that hits as hard as Francis Ngannou. And that power cube thing shows it. I mean, he got the highest registered punch. Tyrone Spong was number 2. His punch was something like 10,000 pounds more power or more than Tyrone Spong's, which is crazy. He's a monster.
You shouldn't be allowed to hit people.
He's a monster. He's so powerful. But it's like all things balance out, right? Like Stipe just said, yeah, you're powerful for about 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to be there for those 5 minutes. I'll be over here, and I'll be over here, and I'll be ducking and getting the fuck away from you. And he took a few. It takes a guy like Stipe that is smart and fight smart and knows the game. Like, you can't keep this up.
Would Kane be able to do the same thing then? You'd expect so, right?
Young Kane for sure. Like the Kane that fought Czech Congo,
Yeah.
the Kane that fought Ben Rothwell, that Kane, Jesus Christ, that Kane could have done that to anybody. But I think what you deal with Kane was like a mental strength that no one's body can hold up to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he just drove forward with so much tenacity that his body's like tires are flying off and bolts are breaking, and there's just too much strength in the mind.
When you say that, I see it in my head, and I picture him moving forward a lot like Nurmagomedov moves forward.
Yeah, a lot.
Just with better striking.
Well, people keep forgetting Nurmagomedov was injury-ridden as well.
Yeah.
He was constantly plagued with
There's
injuries.
a lot of guys that, I had 3 or 4 of my UFC fights because Josh Thompson got hurt.
Right.
I can think of off the top of my head 2 of them where it was because Josh was hurt, and they.
What do you think about that? Do you think that they train too hard, or do you think that is just the way you have to train? If you want to look at world-class fighters, AKA is one of the top gyms in the world. Yeah. Luke Rockhold, Daniel Cormier, Cain Velasquez, Josh Thompson, and you can keep going down the road. There's a ton of like guys that people haven't heard of that are top level. Nurmagomedov, obviously. Ton of guys also that are training out of there that are super, super high level. There's a big fucking tank filled with sharks. Now, you look at their success, and it's just undeniable. They have an incredible ratio of success. Like world champions, some of the best guys ever, but a lot of injuries. Now, is that just what happens when you get both things?
I believe, especially with those guys, where those guys are concerned, it has to do with the number of quality guys that they have that are fighting at the same time, and they're only being so many hours in the day. So they're in the gym at the same time, having to do the work that they need to do to prepare for a fight.
Yeah.
But they're all on the same mat, and guys are running into each other.
Right, that's happening.
So
too.
Luke is over here and Khabib is over here, but they've got 5 different guys rotating for them, and one of those 5 guys is the reason that Nurmagomedov gets hurt.
Right,
You know?
right. That's a problem, right? Like, that doesn't happen in boxing. You never see world-class boxers sparring in the same ring as other world-class boxers.
At the same time,
At the
no.
same time. It's stupid.
Yeah.
That's a size issue in terms of the gym size.
That's definitely a thing in that regard.
Yeah.
Also, the layout of the gym. Like a boxing ring, you could put them in a quartered off area.
Right.
And nobody else could be involved.
Right.
You section off the mats, but then you have to have coaches in between people so that when these guys starting to come together, the coach comes in, hey guys, start going back to your area.
Right.
There's just no borders.
Right, right.
And without having borders and a guy like Hector Lombard coming after you, you're gonna move.
Yeah,
you
you're
know?
going to crash into people. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a real good point. I think it's the level of talent, the aggression in the room, the level of ambition in the room, all the above.
Yeah.
And the fact that they have that philosophy to just go hard. I mean, they go hard.
Yeah.
Like I talked to DC about it. He's like, sometimes Kane and I spar, and sometimes we fight.
Yeah.
I'm like, God damn. You having fights before the fight, like legitimate, full-on, fights.
That
full
happens.
Power shots.
That happens.
Yeah.
I remember being underneath T-Bow, trying to come to my feet, and he's throwing big punches with little gloves on. Right, we were wearing little gloves, sparring MMA gloves, and he's hitting me. He hit me in the face like 3 times, and I'm like, that's entirely too hard. But if I don't get up, he's just gonna keep going.
Right.
But like that's what it is, man. When you're in the gym, there's some guys that they only have one speed.
Yeah. Yeah.
And a lot of those guys are the guys that could perform when it's time to step into the cage.
Well, that's the story with TJ Dillashaw. All the alpha male guys were saying that TJ, when he would spar real hard, and then when you would hurt him, he'd try to kill you.
Yeah.
Just how we. But look, he's a fucking world champion for a reason. 2-time. I mean, that tenacity. That makes you sometimes a problematic sparring partner. that same mental strength. And who knows who's telling the truth, because this is obviously alpha male. They were a little salty after he left, and I don't think they're lying, but I think there's two
sides of the story.
There's two sides of the story, and there's also, people accentuate their position.
Yeah, I mean, if you watch a video versus hearing two people tell a story,
right,
you see three different things.
Yeah, man, I've had people tell me things like, man, you won't believe what happened. And then I watch the video, I'm like, wait a minute, what did you think you saw? Because I didn't see that. I saw something pretty reasonable. But
when these guys go back and watch fights and they're like, I won that fight.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, you didn't.
That's a real problem. Yeah. Like some people, and again, those are really the same guys as the I can't catch a break guys. The ones who think they won when no one else thinks they won.
Yeah.
You're watching, you're like, wait, man, what fight are you watching? Like, you definitely didn't win.
Look at your face.
Yeah. The fucking judges, man. That is really the number one problem. If all the rules, all these different things, those are all a problem, the judges are the biggest problem by far. Like it seems like every UFC, I'm waiting to interview the fighter. I'm in the cage and they're reading the scorecards, and I just go like, every UFC, it's like one fight at least where I'm like, what? What the fuck did they just say? 30-27. Who? How? What?
Yeah.
Like, a guy's getting their asses kicked, taken down, getting fucked up on the feet, and they're winning rounds 30-27.
Yeah.
10-9, 10-9, 10-9. What?
Yeah, I've seen that. I saw a fight recently. I can't remember what it was, but when the judging came up, I heard 30-27, and I was like, there was no guarantee that any guy won any of those rounds. Sorry, there was a guarantee. When I heard 30-27, I thought this guy won, because I'm like, he won that round.
Right.
So they thought he won the other two.
Right.
And then they gave it to the other guy, and I'm like, how did he lose that one round?
It's full incompetence, man. It's just full incompetence. What is it like now when you're working for UFC and you're doing the Fox stuff, like Fox coverage of UFC? Do you have like a set schedule? Like, how often do you guys do it?
So there are like 7. Actually, there were 7 when I started. I think there are more guys now in that rotation, and they don't have a set schedule.
So they just call you up, hey,
Yeah.
Yves, are you around Thursday?
Well, they give it to you a few weeks out.
Right.
You got plenty of advance notice. So like the next desk job I'm working is the Barbosa Lee fight.
Which
And
one is that?
That's on the 21st of April.
April. Okay, cool.
I think that's Atlantic City.
Ooh, that's a good card.
Yeah.
That's Frankie Edgar's fighting. Who's
Cub
he fighting?
Swanson.
Cub Swanson.
I don't. So, about that fight, I don't like the fight. I don't have a problem with it. Like, I feel like Frankie just got knocked out,
Yep.
and that's really soon to come back. If anybody can bounce back from something like that, it's a guy like Frankie. But I felt the same way about Bisping fighting after he didn't get knocked out. He got dropped by George and then got choked unconscious. It's like, yeah, he shouldn't take that Gastelum fight so soon.
Yep, I completely agree.
Like, and I feel that way about this fight because I feel like Frankie wants this fight because he wants to get that taste out of his mouth. But like, it's still gonna taste the same. Anytime you go back and watch that fight, you're still gonna have those feelings, right? You're going to win your next fight more than likely. You're Frankie Edgar.
Yeah.
Right? You don't have to rush it. Like, let your brain rest, recover. That's how I feel about it. But that's only because I'm 41 now. If I was 26, maybe I would have been like, and I know Frankie's like 32, 33.
I think he's 36.
Frankie's 36?
I think he's 36.
So
find out for us. I'm pretty sure Frankie's 36.
But I'm like, you want to go out there and do it, but when I think about brain trauma and the things that I forget,
36.
I'm always like, my CTE's flaring up.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, he fought Cub just a couple of years ago and mauled him and got a last-second submission. Maybe he just thinks, look, there ain't a fucking thing in the world this guy can do to stop me.
Yeah.
I fucked him up before. I'm going to fuck him up again. It doesn't matter. I'm not even going to get hit. I'm just going to get a hold of him, ragdoll him just like I did before. But Cub Swanson can crack. He can crack. And he's got a kid now, and he's got a second kid along the way. And that
he doesn't quit.
Does not quit. And that makes dudes hungry. And that fight is probably a massive motivating factor for Cub Swanson.
Yeah, and Cub is still around, and he's still number 4 because he takes the lessons from these fights.
Yeah.
He learned something in that fight with Frankie.
Yeah.
I can't see that fight going. I mean, there's a part of me that can see that fight going exactly the same way, but I can also see Cub having made adjustments because of the lessons that he learned from that fight.
Sure. And he had to learn from the Ortega fight as well. You
Yeah.
look at how Ortega handled Frankie. He handled him very smart. Very creative. I mean, Cub fights a different way. Cub is more of an in and out guy, and he explodes on you, and he keeps his hands down low and sneaks shots on you. He does a lot of weird shit. He's real creative. He's got to watch out for the takedown and the wrestling control though, because that's was a big factor in the fight. That was giant.
That's where he got controlled. Yeah. But I mean, it's a great fight. I'm just all about what's better. What's better in the long run,
right?
Well,
it's Tom's River. The problem is he's New Jersey, and this is going to be in Atlantic City, and all the boys are going to come down. And I'm with you 100%. I would like to see this fight, but I would like to see this fight in 6 months. Yeah. I mean, it's a good fight. It's a good fight.
Great fight. And Frankie could go in there and wipe him out, or do exactly what he did last time, or it could be a battle and nothing comes of it. But it's just like err on the side of caution.
Some good fights on this card, man.
Yeah.
David Branch and Thiago Santos.
I'm looking forward to that one. I want to see.
That's a tricky fucking fight. That Thiago Santos guy is a murker. That dude crushes people.
And he ever since his loss to Spice Lee, he's been it seemed to be more focused.
He's a fucking animal, man. Very dangerous striker. And David Branch, coming off of that performance against Luke Rockhold, he had Rockhold hurt.
Yep.
He had Rockhold hurt, and he wound up getting dominated. Wound up getting mounted and beaten down, got his back taken and smashed, but
he learned a lesson in that fight too.
For sure. You learn a lot about conditioning when you fight a guy like Rockhold too.
Yeah.
Rockhold is one of the best in the division at top control. He gets on top of dudes like what he did with Chris Weidman. Weidman is a stud wrestler. He gets on top of him, and it's like he might as well have had a building sitting on him.
He has his body type is something that's hard to deal with just how long he is, but how good he is at jiu-jitsu and the controls and positioning. That's a problem, man, because you have to make that extra effort. When you start hip escaping and on a regular guy, a guy that you're comfortable with the size, you don't have to make the movements are as long. But Luke, his build and the way he is, and his understanding of positioning, he's a hard out for a lot of guys.
Yeah, he's got that Hodger Gracie type body. That long, strong.
It's weird. It's just different. It's like when I first rolled with those guys over the judo guys, like Manny Gambirian and Karo and those guys. I roll with them, and it's like they have this jiu-jitsu style that's like the timing is just off a beat somehow, and they're hitting all these kimuras, and it's like it feels funky. I feel like that's how Rockhold's body is. Cody McKenzie was like that. When I fought Cody, I was like, I'm really good at escaping back control, and I peel him off, and it's like, so how much leg do you have, man? Get this thing, you know what I mean? It just keeps going.
Yeah. Well, that's what makes the Yoel Romero fight all the more impressive.
Yeah.
That Yoel Romero shut that shit down entirely. He's terrifying, man.
But he's seen everything, right?
Yeah.
Wrestling all the best guys in the world.
Did you see the podcast I did with him and Joey Diaz?
I watched some of it, and I like to listen to your stuff when I'm going to bed. But so it's all in my head sometimes when I pass out. When I was in Texas, I was driving all the time, so I would listen when I'd leave Austin, drive to Houston. I would hear 2 or 3 episodes because I'm going there and then coming back. That's a 2.5 hour drive each way.
Right.
Out here, I'm not in the car as much, so I get a lot of snippets.
Right.
So I got some of the Yoel, but I haven't got the whole episode.
It was amazing. Talking about the program, the wrestling program coming up in it, what it was like. Amazing.
Yeah, I heard some of that about how they're on a pyramid, and they what was it? The top guys, they get the best. They get some of the best
food,
the best accommodations.
They get 3 meals a day. The other guys get 2.
Yeah,
everything's better.
And
they're all working out with each other all the time. So they're all around each other all the time. And he's like, everybody knows you hurt your wrist. Oh, everybody knows. And those are the guys you're going to have to go against. Yeah.
That is a representation of capitalism.
Yeah.
Right?
Right? It is.
That's exactly what it is.
It is capitalism inside of communism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
but keep people poor and hungry, and like the best in the world, the best they can do is get 3 meals a day,
right.
and live in a better place.
That's
Yeah.
now we got political.
Yeah, but it is political, and people need motivation. They need incentive for their actions. People that think socialism is a good idea have never accomplished anything. There's no way you've competed. There's no way. If you're a competitor and you understand the benefit and the value of competition, I'm not talking about capitalism competitive. I'm talking about just actual competitive in anything.
Yeah.
Anything where you're trying to get a position, and it's a very difficult position, so you want to work harder than the other people around you. You know about merit-based performance. You should achieve based on your merit, based on what you have actually shown to, like, how much work you've put in, what you've accomplished. You should benefit from that. And the idea that everybody should be paid equally, and that everybody should just have, oh man, well, I'll just contribute and just I'll give a little, you give a little. Those fucks never give their share. They're never good. They're never the best at what they do. They never know how to compete. They just don't. They just don't. It's not saying that there's not some aspects of a community where we should have some socialist ideas. Like, I believe in free education. I believe that without a doubt, our nation, as wealthy as it is, can afford to have better health care and better education.
Yeah.
Those two things, I think, are gigantic factors in just having a healthy community. But if you want a quality of outcome, you can suck my dick. That's nonsense. There's no such thing as a quality of outcome. Because if you have real freedom, you're always going to have inequality of outcome, because the real freedom is a guy like Jocko wants to get up at 4:30 in the morning and work out every day, whereas some people just want to sleep till noon. I'd rather just lay in bed, man. I like to go to the beach and hang out. I'm not in a hurry. I'm not in a rush. Good. I hope you enjoy yourself. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you want the same amount of money as that motherfucker's up at 4:30 in the morning, hustling, constantly cranking out, got 3 different things in the air, 3 different things going on, projects constantly, always in the middle of something, always pushing, always trying to improve, always looking at himself, always being self-critical, always analyzing, what do I have to do to get better? And you're not? But you want the same outcome. Fuck you.
I think
Fuck
that.
you.
I completely agree with that. I feel like there's this, the world, or especially the country, is in the best place when there are more people in the middle. When there's these extremes, and I feel like the people that were in the middle, they've somehow been dragged further out to these extremes because, having, going far right with some things, right? No, you don't get anything. You don't get this unless you work for it. And you're like, yeah, absolutely, 100%. But like some of the things that go along with that, but then everybody gets a trophy. No, everybody doesn't get a trophy. There's like, you should get a trophy if you were able to compete to the level that's deserving of a trophy.
Right.
And that's it.
Right.
Like, everybody shouldn't get one. You lost, you shouldn't get the same thing that the guy that won got.
Right.
You did well and you lost, and there's a big competition with a big group and you did better than some of them. Yeah, maybe you get some of the pie. But like this whole thing of everybody's equal, like I disagree. I feel like there's aspects of everything that should be everywhere. So when I say that, what I mean is like capitalism. Like we saw capitalism inside communism in that example, right?
Yeah.
Well, inside capitalism, there should be some socialism.
Yeah.
Like let's look at the Major League Baseball, right? The Yankees, they're in the playoffs every year because they can afford to buy the best players, you know. But like look at Green Bay, Wisconsin, small market team. They can win a Super Bowl because of the revenue share, because of the socialistic revenue sharing inside the NFL. You know, it's a weird dynamic where there are things that apply in different situations. Yeah. But like people can't compartmentalize enough so that these things can happen and we can all make it work out. Like I feel like you said about healthcare and education. Healthcare and education, we have the funds for those things to be good across the board. But why is it that the schools in this rich area are always better? They always have the better scores, but then when you take the same type of effort and you put that somewhere in a poor area, their scores come up and they can compete, right? If they have the same effort from the faculty and the staff and whatnot. But and same thing with like law enforcement. Law
Yeah.
enforcement is better in these areas where like it's like there's no crime here and this is where all the rich people live and this and that.
Right.
Yes, but like because they also have better law enforcement.
Right.
There are police patrolling that area in a different fashion. Like it's this weird thing where
It's not equal.
it's not equal. And it doesn't like those things should be equal, but as far as these people live in a poor area now, and these people, they have a lot of money because of family wealth, because of work ethic, because of all of that. Yeah, like everybody deserves to be safe. Everybody deserves to have that at the very least, right? So let's enforce the laws and patrol and do those things in this area just as much as we do for this area. Right, and put the money into that because that's a community thing. Now, when we're talking about what they have nicer pools. Well, they pay higher taxes and they do this thing. Okay, well, if you want that, now that you're safe enough and your education is where it is, let's start reinvesting in that community. You know,
Right.
let's not get to the point where we can afford to be here, so we
Yeah.
go there. No, we can afford to be there, and but let's just try reinvesting in this community to make this community more like that one. But if we have the protections to do that, then I feel more comfortable reinvesting in this community.
Yeah.
It's a weird. All these things are all over the place, and you got to put them together.
Well, we don't treat our country as if it's a giant community.
Right.
If it was a giant community where everybody's equal, we would look at all the problem spots and say, okay, well, there's these crime-ridden, poverty-stricken communities that can't seem to catch a break. So the people that come out of that, even though we're saying, hey, there's an open playing field to compete, that's not true.
Right.
Because they're coming at it with a massive disadvantage from the jump. An education disadvantage, an environmental disadvantage in what they see around them all the time.
Yep.
They're around a lot of I can't catch a break dudes, right?
And a lot of trap.
A lot of criminals, a lot of bullshit, a lot of different ways you could go wrong, a lot of things that could set you down a terrible path in life, and it's around you all the time. And if we tried to engineer society to say, well, how do we have less people that are disadvantaged? How do we have less losers? What's the best way? Well, you got to go to the problem spots. All the problem spots we should be dumping money in. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't do anything overseas, because I think a lot of the things that we do overseas probably help and protect us over here.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of shit we don't have to do. And that shit, we could take that money and just fix cities. Just go in and throw a ton of money and compassion and education and community centers and make places safe for people to learn how to be an adult.
You know what the U.S. military budget is
It's
yearly?
insane. It's insane.
Do you have any idea?
No, I don't.
It's like 600 billion.
I think it's higher than that.
It's higher than
I
that
think it's in
now.
the trillions. I think it's in the trillions.
That's like that. That is crazy. That kind of takes me.
Let's guess. You say 600
I
million?
say 600.
I say 1.3 trillion.
Wow.
I'm crazy though, dude.
600 billion.
I don't even know what 1.3 trillion looks like. What is it? Dun dun dun.
Technically, both.
Technically both.
Yeah, the thing that when I Googled it, the last one that was reported, I suppose, was 2015. It was 597 billion.
Which year? 20 what?
2015. The new one that Trump just signed that was approved is for 1.3 trillion.
That must be where I heard it.
Oh boy.
That's a lot of cash.
That's-
How much for education, Mr. Trump? We don't need no stinking books.
Oh, I think that's actually the whole bill. That's 700 billion of that is for the military.
Oh, what's the rest of it for?
Everything else.
Schools.
Yeah, a little bit.
Can you imagine if someone just said 700 billion for schools? You'd be like, what? Yeah, we're not fucking around anymore.
Yeah.
We're ready to take over. We're going to invest 10 years with $700 billion a year in a school system.
Man, that sounds nice, right?
Right. What do you think the education budget is for the country? If you had to guess, what's the overall public education budget in the United States, primary through high school?
I never thought about it. That's awesome. If we go with 600 billion for the military, I'm gonna go with 100 billion.
I'll go 100 million. $100 million.
As of 2011, discretionary budget was 70 billion.
Whoa.
That's up from
Education
2006
budget?
Yeah, 2006 it was 56 billion.
Huh. So it's higher than it has been in the past. 70 billion, and what does that cover? There's too many fucking people.
Yeah, I would say that what it covers
Oh.
is What it's supposed to cover and what it actually covers is a different thing.
What's it supposed to cover?
I have to look deep into that.
You just said there's too many people.
There's so many people.
So check this out. I think the same thing, right? And I did some slight research. 1955, I think it was. Guess what the population of the planet was?
Oh, we did that the other day. It was like 2 billion.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Two and a half.
Yeah.
2.5 billion. And now we're at 7.5 billion.
Well, we went with when I was in high school. We went with like 85. I think it was 5 billion. So just since 1985 to today, it's gone up.
Doubled from
Almost.
from this 50s,
Yeah,
and now
from the
it's
50s.
we've added
Yeah.
like another half to that, 50% to that.
So many people.
But like I was thinking about that, and I'm like looking at it, and like if it's exponential, right? In 50 years, we will have nearly 20 billion people on this planet.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
That's crazy. Yeah, everywhere is going to look like Los Angeles.
Like imagine if there was still like I think in the 1800s, there were like still millions of people on the planet, not billions.
Here it is right here. The president's 2017 budget provides $69.4 billion in discretionary funding. But that's education?
Yes, this is for the
Education bill?
Yeah.
$139.7 billion in new mandatory funding for the U.S. Department of Education. The budget supports implementation of Every Student Succeeds Act, which embraces many of the reforms in the administration has long supported to improve outcomes for all students. It also makes crucial investments that build the administration's work to advance educational equity and excellence, support teachers and school leaders, promote college affordability and completion. These include, I think college should be free. I think we could figure out how to make college free. I'm with Bernie Sanders on that. It's a rare thing. I just don't think you should be in fucking debt up to your asshole by the time you get out of school. I think it's crazy. It's a fucked up way to start your life. And people are like, well, you want to make a living? This separates the people that really want it and the people that, no, bullshit. You get stuck in debt, and you can't even get out of that debt. It's not even regular debt. It's blood debt. It's some weird debt.
But doesn't having a more educated society help
Everybody
in the long run?
Sure.
Like what? Everybody will make more money. Everybody would make more money.
Yeah.
Like
have
I don't
less
get that.
losers. But you would have to like make sure that whoever the fuck is teaching these kids, like you'd have to be real stringent with what you're letting get pushed through if you're going to throw that much money on it. There's a lot of shitbag teachers out there. We'd have to clean that up. You know, a lot of people.
Hey, there's a lot of shitbag teachers out there, and now they want to give them guns.
That's the dumbest shit of all time.
That's
the dumbest shit of all time.
That is the dumbest shit of all time.
You can't expect teachers to become soldiers. That's crazy. That's not what they do. They're not warriors. They shouldn't be out there having firefights with pilled up, former high school students.
Yeah.
It's fucking insane. I don't know what the solution to that is, honestly. I do not know what the solution is. The NRA thinks it's having guns everywhere. The anti-Second Amendment people think it's getting all the guns away. But you're not going to get all the guns away.
The thing about, like, people say guns don't kill people, people kill people. I'm like, no, people with guns kill people.
They definitely do. Hear exactly how much the government would have to spend to make public college tuition free. How much?
What do you think it is?
Okay, let me guess. $1 trillion a year.
Way less.
Way less?
Yeah, I would say.
Really?
That's
How
according
much?
to this article.
Okay, what does it say?
About a
What is
billion?
what is the website? The Atlantic?
From the Atlantic, yeah.
Okay, that's a left-leaning website, but they're not ridiculous.
Yeah, it got updated. So the article says $62.6 billion, a mere 62. But there's updates on the bottom of the article that said some readers say that's in addition to what they already spend, so that makes it maybe double.
Well,
So
here's one way they could make it really fucking cheap. Have it available for free online. Everybody should be able to get an education online. I really firmly believe that. I think they should have courses that you could just sign up and take them like a regular college course. You don't have to be in a physical location anymore. That's so retro. That's so unnecessary. Get in your car and get to traffic and go to UCLA. The only thing good about that is you're in the room with someone like a Jordan Peterson or some really good professor that's really inspirational, and you're in there with them. They talk to you, and you're like, oh, okay, and you get to be in their presence and see oh, this guy was probably my age one day and he figured all this shit out, and oh, there's maybe some extra juice to that.
I used to have a bookmark saved. I think it was Harvard. It was a long list of recorded lectures that were from any class, I think. There probably was a limit to what they were doing. It's definitely not accessible anymore, especially for the public. But it was fully accessible to anybody that wanted. That's why I had it saved.
I don't know, Joe. I mean, when I think about that, like I said earlier, like all these formulas fit into different things. You say that, and it's like you can be at home looking at them on the screen, and learning versus being in the same room. And it's like, yeah, but like you could also go to a strip club and watch strippers dance, or you could be at home watching them porn. And when you're at home watching them, you're gonna pull it out and rip one. You know?
Right. So you're saying.
So
that
I'm saying is like if you're
get
at
your
home,
education home, you're just gonna beat off. That's a real problem. You know, Louis C.K. was saying once that he has a computer that he writes on that's not connected to the internet because he just can't get distracted, force himself to.
I think that's what I'm saying. The problem is the distraction with having access to everything right there.
That's true.
But you open the window with the teacher. That's the biggest part.
It's discipline.
It's discipline, and that goes back to what I believe that ties back into what I was saying before about what, all this entertainment out there. Everybody's id is always like scratching at you, like, hey, pay attention to me, give me something to do.
So this is some onlinelearning.harvard.edu. Yeah. So they allow you to study the pyramids of Giza, ancient Egyptian art and archaeology, and it's free.
Yeah, this is a whole course on it for free.
Oh, that's nice.
There's a bunch of them.
How many courses do they have that are available for free?
Tons. I don't know. I just clicked one that looked interesting too.
Excellent. They have a methadone? Oh, medicine. I was like, what are you giving people?
They get methadone online.
Yeah, what?
All these courses you could take.
Oh, that's nice.
And the problem is you don't get credentialed. So
That's
if somebody
fine.
wants you to have a job for it, you can't show them, like, I took this free course and passed it. But
that seems to be less and less of a factor in the future. I think having a degree is going to mean less than it means now.
I think so. I feel like with the internet, you can, if you have the right guidance, you can have the syllabus from a college course,
right?
And you have the internet, without getting the paper that says you done it, you can literally learn what you would learn in a classroom.
You should have to take a test for the job you do. Like, say if you're a car stereo installation person, you should have a real deep knowledge of the electrical systems in an automobile and what electronics sync up with that and how it works well and what makes them work and how does a radar detector work, how does a CD player work, you should have to take a test based on whatever the job it is you're interested in.
Yeah.
You know, and if you want to be a doctor, obviously we're talking about different ball wax. You know, then you should have a full understanding of humans. You're cutting people open and draining their shins and shit. You should, you should have a real deep understanding of the human body. But, like, how does that do you any good if you want to be a mechanic or if you want to be, you know, whatever the fuck you do for a living, there should be a way where you could, like, if you're an advertising executive, you should take a test to find out how much you know about the advertising business. And there's a lot of shit that you don't need to know that you went to school for to get a degree.
Yeah, there's some weird things that go along with that, though. It's like you have all these things that you have to take these courses to graduate.
Yeah,
you know,
to get a general education.
Yeah, you have to get a general education.
Which is a good thing, right? You want
definitely.
people to understand.
You want to understand the world, right? But there are things that are more important. You can take that back to high school, and we could talk about, like, everybody knows the Pythagorean theorem in high school, but you can't do your taxes, and you know, you start working. Most people start working at like 16. When you start working at McDonald's or Gap or something at 16, 17, you're still paying taxes at the end of the year, right? So doing that in February and March in school in your math classes, how is that not something that happens?
Right.
You know. It's one of these weird situations where the education is important, right? But let's learn the things that actually apply to life.
Yeah. I feel like you should get out of high school with a basic understanding of most things.
Yes.
Right? Like, general education in high school makes sense.
Right.
But I feel like once you get into college, whatever the fuck you're trying to pursue, it should be very specified, very specific to whatever the fuck your business is. You don't need to take gender studies classes.
But also, you probably don't necessarily need all the textbook knowledge, because there's there's certain jobs that actual experience matters more than the textbook knowledge. I couldn't tell you exactly which ones.
Well,
but
how about what Jamie does? Is a problem with
exactly.
Jamie's job. He went to school to be an audio engineer, but all that shit that you used back then, like that shit's all useless.
Yeah, for
How
sure.
much of it is useless?
I mean, the hardest test I think I took was after we were all done was for Pro Tools. It's basically for a computer program to get certified that you know this program very well, like what's almost what you're explaining. That program is like version 6 of the program. For back then, I think they were updating it maybe once every 2 years. It's been updated like 4 times this year probably. And they're on level like 11 now. So it's like completely useless that I know all that. They've updated all of the limits are completely like unlimited things now. So it doesn't even matter that you know all that.
So someone getting out of school with just the education that you got in school literally can't do it today.
You'd have to go back and do it again, sort of. They offer that
Yeah.
at the school. Like you can go back and
Refresher?
right, yeah, for free. That's part of the benefit of going to this school, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
But like to have the time and the ability to go back to Florida and stay there for a month, so I could go take that class. Like, can't take a month off of this
Right.
to do it. And like, who's going to pay for my apartment down there and here? It's a really tough situation you put yourself in. Although
That's
it's
a
there.
lot with a lot of anything that has to do with technology, right? Where it's constantly moving
Yeah,
forward.
it's changing. And the thing about technology, it's like there's some savants in that, you know. There are these kids and these people that pick up on technology and they understand it so well, and they have no formal education with it, or no real formal
Yeah.
education. Like
Right.
technology is one of those things that I feel like it's the most apparent thing where you don't have to go to school. You have to have the experience.
Yeah,
You
and you
know?
have to be engrossed in whatever the subject is. And learn about
Exactly.
it. Yeah, but then again, it comes back to what we're talking about with discipline. Like, how much time do you want to spend to work on things? And look, that's applicable to fighting. Like you knew so many people in the gym that just did not put the time into drilling techniques and learning them and really getting a fully comprehensive understanding of why you're supposed to do something a certain way. And they just kind of like listened a little bit, worked out kind of hard, and maybe they had a little bit of athletic talent, and then they would come back in. But the guys who would stay and drill and think and learn and take notes, those guys always moved past.
Yeah.
They always moved further.
And also the guys that were willing to do what was uncomfortable, willing to do the things that they're not good at. Like, I didn't like it. Like I said, I don't like getting hit. I didn't like getting hit. I mean, I accept that as a part of the job, but I didn't like it. When I first started training, I probably for like my first 10, 15 fights, I was like showing up late to practice because boxing was first. I didn't want to spar. I didn't want to get hit.
Wow.
Like and so I was like, well, I don't like getting hit. I gotta avoid getting hit, but I gotta have things coming at me to learn how to avoid that. You
Wow.
know? So I started showing up on time. I started doing more boxing, and I started doing more boxing. I was like, oh, this is fun. I like this. I'm enjoying this. Same thing with wrestling. I knew how to sprawl, and I knew how to shoot a basic double, you know, the 1990s double. But then I started training with Tyron. Then I started training with Steve Brown and Dan Valamont and Jordan Lean and, you know, these D1 wrestlers, and starting to learn all the other aspects of wrestling. There was something I did in the fight with Stout where it's an ankle breaker. I tried to, it doesn't actually break your ankle. It's just the name of the technique where I actually watch the tape and you call it like a standing heel hook, right? Where I have his ankle, single leg, and I try to trip him and crank his leg down.
Yeah.
And, like, I would have never done that if I hadn't been wrestling with these kids and learning these things. And there's so much about it, and it just became a whole lot of fun. Now, like, I used to hate wrestling. I used to not want to do it at all. Now, like, that's all kind of like all I want to do.
You see that with everything. You see that with jiu-jitsu guys getting into striking. You
Yep.
see it with strikers getting into the ground
You see
game.
wrestlers getting into striking.
Yeah, they just don't want to do it. They just don't. And they also particularly don't want to get involved in something they're not really good at. Like if you're a monster at one thing, like if you're a monster on the ground, you don't want to be a white belt at kickboxing,
Yeah.
get your legs chewed up and get your nose bloodied every time you spar, and you're covering up in the corner and be like, I can just grab this guy and make him my bitch. And you can't even. You got to just eat shots, you know?
Yep.
Nobody wants that. You saw that a lot with kickboxers in particular that would go into jiu-jitsu class and just did not like how they would get humbled.
Yep.
They did not like it at all because they were literally starting from scratch. If you don't have a grappling background and you go in there against some black belts and killers, they make you feel helpless.
Yep.
They make you feel like you are not safe ever. All they have to do is grab you and it's over. You're 100% getting choked. That's too fucked up for some people. They can't handle that shit. They feel like, and then that's the case also with like a slow plotting grappler that fights like a dynamic striker, and then you have to stand up like, whoa.
And you get leg kicked to death by Edson Barbosa.
Fuck all that.
Yeah.
Fuck that.
I've never been leg kicked to death, but I've taken 2 or 3 from Thiago in a practice when I first started training American Top Team. And I was like, I feel good about checking kicks. You know, I'm comfortable there. But he landed a couple, and I was like, yeah, fuck that. I'm like, so I would work with Thiago a lot, and I feel comfortable now checking kicks. You might get 1, you might get 2 off, but I'm not gonna letting you do that to me.
He had a good whipping right leg kick too. He would whip it in there. You know, like his kick was like super textbook, man. Especially when he's in his prime, he would throw that jab He would either throw a 1-2 or a jab, and then just slam that right leg in there. Whoa!
Like he's hopping into it.
Whoa!
Like that's how I feel like Edson Barbosa is like the 2.0 with Thiago Alves. You know,
he's a little faster.
Yeah.
Edson's stunning. Like, especially that switch kick. He throws that switch kick, and you're like, what?
Yeah.
His left leg switch kick is probably the fastest kick I've ever seen anybody throw from that stance.
I'd love to see, like, something lined up where you time, like, a regular person, southpaws. Right kick. I'm sorry, their left kick.
Yeah.
And you time his switch kick to that.
Yeah.
Or also put his up against somebody else's switch kick.
He's got like a Muay Thai world championship caliber switch kick.
Yeah.
Like you see like a real high level Thai boxer, they've got that same kind of speed to it. You watch his and you're like, there's no comparison in the octagon.
You're not countering that. You'd be lucky to react in time.
Like, you're just taking it. You're just taking it. Yeah.
It's real quick.
Yeah, but again, we go back to that Nurmagomedov fight. As good as he was, he got fucking mauled.
Yeah.
That's what's really crazy, because he didn't get mauled in the Ferguson fight. It was a good fight. It was a good fight. Ferguson was winning.
Yep.
It was a good fight until Tony caught him with the Darce and sunk that choke in. But then again, that's a few years too.
Yeah, definitely.
You could say that
Tony's
Barboza
improved,
might be better.
Everybody should be better. All 3 of those guys should be better at this point.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, it's dangerous, and I would like to see. I mean, Barboza, he's showed improvement after that. After every loss that he had, he showed improvement after the Tony loss, you know. So this fight with Kevin Lee, let's see.
That's right into the fucking hot of things too.
Yeah.
Like right out of the frying pan, right into the fire. Like
for both guys, though.
Fuck yeah, for both guys. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Kind of crazy.
Kevin Lee might get beat up in that one.
Oh yeah, man. He might get wheel kicked.
Yeah.
You know, he might get Terry Edmed. Remember that fight?
Yep.
Isn't that crazy that was the first time a wheel kick ever landed in a UFC fight? First wheel kick KO.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. I think Seth Petrozelli landed a wheel kick, but he didn't knock anybody out with it.
You needed someone with that kind of speed, though.
Yeah. Whoa!
Because the game has changed.
But then, you know, Vitor landed on Rockhold. A bunch of people have landed wheel kicks since then.
Yeah.
But that one wheel kick was so crazy. It was so perfect. It landed right on the jaw and just shut the lights out.
Man, he went down like a tree.
Yeah, he was out going down.
Yeah.
That was in Brazil.
I don't know. Barbosa is a fun guy to watch, man. I'm excited to be on the desk for that one. You know?
It's a good fight.
Especially those 2 fights. Like I love watching Cub and Frankie fight. Like I still feel the same way about. I think I would love to see that later. I'm not necessarily even love to see. I'm not crazy about the fight in the sense that I've seen it once and it could go that way again. But I am excited to see the improvements that if Cub is able to make any adjustments going into that one. But it's not a necessary thing. There's some fights that I don't like them just for the mathematics of the fight, like Dustin Poirier and Gaethje. I love Dustin. He's my boy, right? But I don't like it because Dustin and Eddie, the fight with Dustin and Eddie, the fight was going one way. There was it called a no contest for a disqualification?
Right.
I'm like, I disagree with that. I know I'm biased, but I feel like my argument is strong in that the ref, Herb, came back to the locker rooms and he explained to us that we're using the old rules. So if by the old rules, all 3 of those knees were illegal, right? It doesn't matter if it was intentional. It matters if it's illegal. That's the way I understand the rules.
Right.
So that's my thing. I feel.
So
like
you feel like it should be disqualified and should be a loss,
right?
Yeah.
I
think that's a real good argument. It's a real good argument. And I don't think Eddie's a dirty fighter.
No.
But I do think Dustin was winning that fight up until those moments.
Yeah, I agree.
He had hurt Eddie, and he stunned him on several occasions. Eddie came back and cracked him. There was a lot going on in that fight, but those knees were, there's supposed to be a disqualification for something like that.
Right.
And that's what the whole idea is about, doing something illegal. You do something illegal and the guy gets really hurt from it.
Yeah.
That's illegal. You weren't supposed to do it. It's a disqualification. I think he's in the heat of the moment. He probably didn't even know whether it was legal or not legal. He's just trying to land knees.
Yeah.
Who knows? He's been rocked. I mean, you got to put that into account as well. He got hurt real bad in that fight. Dustin cracked him.
Yeah. Yeah, like...
So mathematically, would you like to see the rematch?
I would like to see the rematch. Definitely. I mean, Dustin was lobbying for the rematch also. And then on top of that, mathematically, I feel like it doesn't make sense because Eddie just beat Gaethje. Right. So, like, it's like...
That's a good point.
This disqualification happened, and this one guy got to step up the ladder.
Right.
But now, if you want to step up the ladder, you have to do exactly what he did.
Right. That's a good point. Yeah. That's a good point. Well, that essentially is solidifying the position as a no contest, right? Because you think he should have won. I tend to agree with you, and you think that he should have a better position. Yeah, I think a rematch would be the way to go, but I still want to see that fight. I gotta be honest with you.
I as a fight fan.
Yeah.
Gaethje Poirier.
Ooh. Gaethje's an interesting guy.
Yeah.
Tough motherfucker, and he throws leg kicks from like a foot away from you. He's like right on top of you, and he swivels his hips and chops down with that leg.
He doesn't care about getting ran over with a takedown either.
No. Well, he's a very good wrestler.
Yeah.
Very good wrestler that chooses to stand and bang, and just breaks guys with his will. Yeah. That Michael Johnson fight, holy shit. Holy shit. And when you stop and think about that, right after I said that, I'm like, God damn, Michael Johnson's been in some fucking wars.
Yeah, he has.
He's been in some wars.
With Ferguson, I mean, well, he beat up Tony a bit. But Johnson's one of those guys you can't count out either.
No.
But his inconsistencies what throws me off.
Yeah. He's oftentimes very good, like in the Poirier fight when he knocked out Dustin. He's very good in that fight. And, and then he's had his moments, but then Elkins just takes him down, strangles him. Yeah. It's like, wow.
I wonder if that cut had anything to do with it,
Did he get cut in that fight
before?
No,
the weight cut, I'm sorry.
Oh, the weight cut.
Just making 45 for the first time.
He could very well be. I mean, he looked real lean. Yeah. Real lean. Who knows how he felt. Doing it for the first time is probably real hard. Yeah. Is he doing it again, or is he going to go back up to 55?
I have not heard. I mean, it may be out there, but I haven't heard anything about it as far as if he's going back to 55 or not.
What's the most you ever cut?
I didn't know what I was doing the first time. I made 154 to fight Ruben Asado. I caught 17 pounds in a day.
Whoa.
That was ridiculous.
Did you have to fight day of or
day after? Next day
after. How'd you rehydrate? Did you use IV bags?
No, I didn't. I drank Pedialyte.
Did it work?
I don't know. The fight didn't last very long. It's on Fight Pass, and it's hard to see, but as the fight happens, I throw a jab, and I hit Sato as he's coming in. I turn his head over, and bang, as he's coming in, we clash heads. And I go to my knees, and I get up, and I grab the ropes, and I'm just holding on to the ropes, and the ref is like screaming at me, slapping my ass, telling me to get off the ropes, and I'm just looking at him like, what are you talking about? And then he jumps on my back, and he starts choking, and I'm fighting, and I'm falling back, and one of the ropes peels my hands off, and he just sinks in the choke. All happens in like 20 seconds.
Wow.
But like I after learning about rehydration, I didn't know anything. This is like 1999.
Right.
After learning, and this is the first time I fought at 55. After learning about rehydration and the brain and all that, I'm like, was I out from that? Like this was when I was a kid. I don't care anymore. It was about the result. But I'm like, was I out? Was I semi-conscious? I don't remember any of that, but I watch it on tape and I see it and I know what happens. But I don't know.
Yeah, so you don't know how much of a weakened state you were in because it was such a quick fight. You didn't get a chance to assess how your body felt. How did you feel like walking to the ring? Do you remember?
I remember feeling good, but I was a 20-something, like 21-year-old maybe fighting a guy who I look up to in a main event in Hawaii on a show on Super Brawl.
Super Brawl. Super Brawl had some great fucking fights, man.
Yeah. Like that's old school,
Remember Egan Inoue versus Mayhem Miller?
Yeah.
Holy shit. Egan gets Mayhem into Kimura. Mayhem keeps rolling out of it with those impossible joints. Damn. Super
Man,
Brawl. Had
Ray
some great
Cooper.
fights. Wasn't that Vitor's debut against John Hess?
Yep.
Yeah. Shaq was in the audience. Remember Shaq jumps
I
up
didn't
to
know
celebrate?
that. I don't remember that.
Yeah, Vitor lit John Hess up. That's when John Hess was like one of the last remaining bullshit artists. He was a SAFTA guy,
Yep.
like street combat, like one of those guys poking people in the eyes and shit. That's what he basically did in his UFC debut. He poked the shit out of some guy he fought. So he fought some short guy and poked him in the eyes. Well, yeah, this is Vitor.
Yep.
This is, back up a little bit.
There wasn't much there.
Yeah, but just back up a little bit because this is right before the fight starts. Yeah, there. Let it go here. Oh, it starts with the beating.
The video's a weird video.
Oh, okay. Look at this.
Look at
Doom,
that.
doom, 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 doom.
Look at him. He's out.
Yeah, that was super fast, Vitor. I was training with Vitor then.
Oh, yeah?
Vitor's 19 years old, man. That's when I was at Carlson Gracie's on Hawthorne. It was right down the street from the Comedy Store, man.
I was so jealous of
There it
Vitor in
is.
that UFC Brazil when he fought Vanderlei. Because I was like, this kid's my age. Like, we were the same. We were born the same year, I guess. I was like, he's my age. He's already in the UFC. I wish I was 200 pounds. Like, I remember Rod Woodson was this safety for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I was like, he's 5'9", 200 pounds. Because there were only 2 weight classes back then.
And this is when he...
Trey Telligman.
Yeah, he fought Trey Tell. He was only 200 pounds back then, man. When he fought in his UFC debut and he beat the shit out of Scott Ferozzo,
Yeah.
he was only 200 pounds. And he was shredded. Just shredded.
Was
He
his
small
UFC
and
debut
fast.
Ferozzo or was it against Vanderlei?
Telligman. Telligman was his debut. Ferozzo right here. That was the second fight of the night. This is the first fight that I worked.
So
This was
wait,
in
when did he
Dothan,
fight-
Alabama in 1997.
When did he fight Vanderlei in the
He fought Vanderlei in
UFC Brazil.
96. 98, I think. In Ultimate Brazil. This is he fought Tank Abbott. This is when Vitor was getting bigger.
Yep.
But he was still
Fast.
It was still fast. He was like probably like 215 or 220 then, and then he fucked up Tank Abbott. But then as he got older, not older, but later, in his, like here, he's still pretty jacked. But then when he fought Randy Couture,
He got-
remember this? This is
Yep.
Joe Charles. That might have been a fix. You ever see that fight?
Yep.
He didn't throw any punches. They were friends.
They just
and he
grappled.
got him in an armbar. That was like they kind of had a deal. Here's the Vanderlei fight. You got to remember the Vanderlei fight was when he had slimmed down.
Yeah.
It was after Randy had already fucked him up.
Okay, it was after Randy.
Yeah.
Okay.
When Randy fought him, Vitor was 240 and he looked like a lion.
Yeah.
He didn't even look like a person. See if you can find Vitor. This is Pride 5.
I posted a picture of that a couple months ago about Vitor at that point before the Randy fight
Yeah.
because he had no known weaknesses.
Right, that's what it said. No known weaknesses. He lost to Sakuraba in this fight. He hurt his hand, broke his hand early. And this is Vitor after his sister got kidnapped
Yeah.
and murdered. He was a different guy then. Sakuraba was so fucking tough too, man. Sakuraba just knew how to survive. See if you can find Vitor versus Randy Couture, because that's the crazy one. When you just look at his build,
Yeah.
he was so big, man.
It's like his traps were coming up to his ears.
Here it is, right here. This is him versus Randy. So this might be, it says young Vitor Belfort, so it's probably only going to show you the good stuff.
It's just highlights.
Yeah. He was so thick back then. But the thing I remember is like how big his neck was. Like it started at the top of his head and worked its way down sideways
here.
at a 40-degree angle. Those are the Wild West days, man. You know? I mean, how many guys did you fight where you're like, oh shit, this dude's definitely on the juice?
I didn't even think about juice back then. I didn't even know what it was.
Really?
I fought. There's a video on YouTube. I fought this guy. So Boss Rutan was coming to Texas, and I was this huge Boss Rutan fan. And he told my coach he was coming. My coach emailed. He said I could be there. I was supposed to fight in Dallas that night. I called the guy up in Dallas because I had fought for him before, and he shorted me on some money. I was like, I'm not coming up there, man. I'm not fighting for you. And I went to this arena where Boss was going to be at, and I told the guy, hey, I walked into the rules meeting. I was like, if anybody doesn't have an opponent, I'll fight. And they gave me a guy that was like 2-something, big jack dude, and a big, like a man, and I was a child. my roommate was like, hey, did you see your opponent? I was like, no. He's like, man, he's like 6'2", he's probably like 220, he's jacked. He's like, and I was like, and Boss was like, Eve, he's drinking. He's like, Eve, you go out there and you fight and you win, I'm gonna be like, yeah, You fight and you lose, I'm gonna be like, yeah, fuck these people. They don't understand what it takes to get in there. You don't worry about it. I will corner you. And I was I was so excited. It was the coolest fucking thing in the world.
Just having Boss Root in your corner, that's got to be what a motivating factor that is.
Right? Like I was this excited kid. I was watching all these Pancras videos. I had pictures of before I even knew the guy, before I had any idea I'd possibly meet him. I have pictures of myself doing that double front kick in my I still have them. It's horrible. But and then I meet the guy and he's willing to corner me and whatnot. Yeah, I'll fight anybody.
No, that's incredible.
I'll fight Dan Severn. Like Dan Severn was there. Like I'll fight him right now.
No, that is incredible. That's incredible.
But that's good, man. Yeah. Sorry, you're taking me back.
Yeah, man. But that's one of the beautiful things about MMA is that, especially with a guy like you, is that you were there from really the beginning, like the early days, man. You were there when there was no money, no notoriety, no nothing.
Yeah, five shows a year, that type of stuff. Like Josh Thompson posted a picture a couple days ago of him and Hermes, and
Hermes Franca.
Yeah,
forgot about that dude.
That was a good fight. I remember watching that and thinking, like Josh, he posted something about that fight should have made him the #1 guy, because like we were the guys at that point.
Yeah,
me, Hermes and Josh, and when he beat Hermes, I was like, I got to fight these guys. These are the guys I want to fight. Then I fought Hermes, and then it was like, that's it. It's just it's Josh and I. We got to do this,
right?
That
highlight kick that you landed on him too was like one of those UFC pre-fight video highlight reel thing they would play with that the Who song.
Yeah, the Bob O'Reilly song.
Bob O'Reilly would play, and you would land that jumping roundhouse kick to the neck. That was a crazy highlight reel KO finish, man.
That's just old school good times,
Yeah.
But like those are the guys that I remember. Those days. I remember when they had that tournament with Dean and Uno and Matt and who was the third guy? BJ. And they had that tournament for the belt, and I was like, why am I not in this tournament? I was angry. I was young. I had a little bit less fights than Dean at the time. A little less experience at that high level anyway. And I was just like, I can fight these guys. I could beat these guys. I had just lost the decision to Uno. I was like, yeah, I know how to be on this level. I should be in this. I was so pissed. And no, I remember those days, man. Those it's fun thinking about them. It's fun going back and watching the whole card, because like you start getting these memories of being around that, of preparing for those days, being on the card and seeing those guys. And the fights were like in Bossier City, Louisiana. Some small town, these small arenas where I'm close to Texas families driving over. And then when I first went to Vegas to fight, man, that first fight in Vegas was right after 9/11. Empty. The casinos were empty.
I remember that. That's when Tito Ortiz fought Vladimir Matyushenko.
Yeah.
I remember that. I was there for that.
Yeah.
I wasn't even working for the UFC then.
No?
No, I was there as a guest. I was there watching. And that's one
I remember Blotnick was there.
Yeah. One of the ways I got the job was I became friends with Dana, and Dana and I would like go to dinner, and I'd start asking him questions. I'm like, have you ever seen Genki Sudo? You ever seen this guy? You ever talk about this guy? What you should try to do is get some of those K1 guys to come over. I would just be telling him all this shit about fighting, and he was like, you want to do commentary? I was like, I don't want to work, man. He talked me into doing it. That's literally how it happened. Becoming friends with him, talking to him. Oh, and he found a video of me on the Keenan Ivory Weigh-In show talking shit about what would happen if Steven Seagal fought in the octagon.
Yeah.
Because
I vaguely remember that.
Keenan had been in some movie with Steven Seagal, and I was fucking with him about the movie. I just was joking around and mocking it.
I remember those rumors of you and Wesley Snipes getting in.
That was supposed to happen.
It should have happened.
Yeah. I think he just needed money, man. I think he just needed tax money.
Yeah.
And it was at a point in my life where I was just dumb enough to do it. I was like, I'll do this.
I was like, man, this dude got tapped out by Andy Dick. Wesley, you can take it.
I got tickled out. Tickling doesn't work, right? No one's ever done that in a fight. Like, you wouldn't even feel it in a fight.
Nah.
You wouldn't even feel it.
No,
like if someone like wasted time, like come on.
You just hit him. Just elbow right in the mouth. You're that close.
Imagine if someone like was so ticklish that you could open up a submission. Like a ticklishness could open up a submission.
That's horrible. You know what? You might be like, if someone's turtled up, you know, and you're in your back, you can hit that rib tickle.
Right.
Maybe. I'm going to try that in the gym.
You might, yeah, in the gym it might work.
I'm gonna try to rib tickle somebody in the gym when I get their back next time.
Here's a question. Has anybody ever knocked a guy out where someone's on your back and you hit him with one of these and knock him out?
I've never seen that.
I've never seen it either. But I've seen people keep trying it. They keep trying it. Right? I don't think anybody's ever knocked anybody out with that. Like, can you practice that? Like, could you get a guy to ride your back with the pads on? And he would hold up pads, and you would fucking hut.
That sounds dumb as shit.
It sounds dumb as shit.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I wouldn't do that.
But you know what does work that you can't do? Headbutting.
Yeah.
Like if a guy's on your back, and if you got wrist control, and you smash your head into his head, that is a legitimate technique. You're smashing the back of your head into his nose. That's legit.
Yeah. That's
legit.
But it's a headbutt.
It's a headbutt. It's illegal.
But it opens up a rear naked.
Yeah, but it's not the best defense. The best defense is proper jiu-jitsu defense, but
Right.
there's something to headbutting someone who's got your back that it's another thing they have to think about.
Yeah.
But if you allowed headbutts, then you would allow the ultimate move from the rear naked choke position, which is him elbowing you in the back of the head. That's the ultimate move.
Yeah.
That changes the whole position.
Yeah, but also headbutts change the guard position too.
Yep. Remember Mark Coleman when he fought Maurice Smith? In those old days, Coleman would get on top of guys and just smash his fucking head right into your nose.
There was an event from Australia from way back in the day, from I think the late '90s, where this guy won one of his fights in the tournament, or maybe a couple fights, from inside the guard headbutting.
Whoa.
And then I remember that. Remember the guy who put his chin in the guy's eye socket?
Mark Kerr.
That was Kerr?
Kerr did that.
Okay.
Dan Bobish. Fought Dan Bobish. Got on top of him, got the back of his head, stuffed his chin into his eye socket, and lifted up the back of his head and crushed his chin into his eyeball. Yikes.
That's gross.
That's as gross as it gets.
It's horrible.
Yeah.
Man, I've seen a lot of those, you know, from the old school. You see, there was these things that would happen that would never happen today.
Right.
You know, and it's it's fun to watch some of that old stuff. And
look at this guy. He's just
running into headbutts.
Running in. Wow, that's crazy. Is that going to work? That's Oleg Taktarov, and it looks like it. The guy on the right, for a second, I thought it was Oleg.
Right? Yeah, no, he would never do something like that. That's a question I like to ask young, like, you know, like when they ask rappers, what do you think of Run DMC?
Right.
Like, that's a question, that's a name that I'll drop on in young fighters, like Oleg Taktarov or Jerry Bolander or something like that.
Jerry Bolander.
You know?
Yeah, Jerry Bolander became a cop.
Yeah. Wilson Govea became a cop, too.
Did he?
Yeah. He's like a SWAT cop.
No shit.
Yeah.
He's a talented guy.
He's like one of the baddest SWAT cops on the force, I hear.
Yeah, I would imagine. He was a talented guy.
Yeah.
He was a guy that I was kind of surprised didn't go further.
Wilson was one of those guys who I believe couldn't put it together inside the octagon as well as he could in the gym. And also had a little bit, he could have put more effort into preparing. You know?
Yeah, well, that's oftentimes the case. The difference between someone who just does fantastic and someone who just doesn't quite, just someone who falls up short.
Yeah, I think it also comes from, like, you know, the way you come up in the sport. Some of these guys, they come up and they're the best guy in their area for a long time, and you kind of get this attitude or this, you start developing this persona of, like, I don't have to do all that work because, like, I'm not even doing that much and I'm still smashing everybody in here.
Well, that's where it's crazy about a guy like John Jones. He actually can do that.
Yeah, right?
He's one of the rare guys that actually can do that.
Man, I wonder how much money he's left on the table with all these problems, especially with the attention that Connor's brought to the sport.
Yeah.
And a guy like John Jones.
Yeah.
You know?
I know. As good as he is. Good as he is. And I feel like for the longest time, too, he's trying to push this goody two-shoes image. And everybody was like, well, that's not you. Like, this is fake. And then all of his problems sort of forced him to just be himself. And then people were like, we like you more now.
Yeah.
And then he winds up testing positive for something else, which I believe it was accidental. I believe that it was accidental. in this case, because it doesn't make any sense any other way. Because if you look at how he tested positive and what he tested positive for, and how recently he tested negative before that, and how recently afterwards he tested negative, you're talking about something that was such a minuscule trace amount. There's no way you could consider taking something like that and having it have some sort of positive effect, performance enhancing effect.
Now, was that the substance? Is it oral? Can it be taken orally?
Yeah, it can be taken orally.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I've heard, and I don't know how true this is. I would expect it to be somewhat true, but I've heard, like in boxing, main eventers, they've had these issues where they would provide their own food because they don't trust the staff for somebody spiking their food with something. So
you
they
could
test.
definitely have that.
So I don't. I mean, that sounds far fetched, but it also sounds to some degree reasonable.
His position was weakened by his testimony in the California State Athletic Commission hearing because, first of all, he said that Malky had forged his signature on one of the documents, on one of the things that he was supposed to have gone over, like what you can and can't. I don't know. I think it was a USADA paperwork, or maybe it was California State Athletic Commission paperwork. He apparently admitted that his manager forged a signature, and they asked him, have you ever considered getting a new manager?
Yeah. And
he joked around about, he has. He said, no, I'm just kidding. But that's not good. And then there was a bunch of stuff in like what he provided as a possible source of that stuff. Like he didn't have a lot of the things that he provided as a source of this stuff in his list of stuff that he had taken.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on there, man. But the real problem is, like, John at one point in time was being represented by Nike. I mean, he was representing Nike. He had a huge Nike contract.
Yeah. That's huge. I mean,
God damn, that was giant, because that was pre-Reebok too.
Yeah.
That was the pre-Reebok days where he would have got all the juice. He would have got it all. And, the coulda, shoulda, woulda shit goes on forever.
And on top of that, the coulda, woulda, shoulda of that being pre-Reebok and it being Nike, with everything that's come to the sport since then, imagine if John, he could have gone a Jordan route in some sense, where he's got like a whole line of John Jones MMA type shit that's Nike's behind.
He could be the heavyweight champion right now. Who knows? I mean, who knows? Well, he could absolutely, he could be in a super fight with Stipe.
Yeah,
absolutely,
100%,
absolutely. That would be a huge fucking fight, man, for MMA. John coming up to heavyweight.
I mean, it's a huge fight with DC coming up to heavyweight.
Yes,
and the only guy to ever best him is John.
Yeah, and not just best him, he KO'd him.
Yeah,
I mean, he hit him with that left high kick that DC said, "You're not going to hit me with that left kick."
Yeah,
he literally said that because he was saying he exposes some tendencies. He's like, "Oh, you mean the left kick? You're not going to hit me with that left high kick." And then boom, he lands the left high kick.
Is that like the Titanic?
A little bit.
Like, it only sank because they said it wouldn't?
Yeah, maybe. A little bit.
That's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
We, a couple weeks ago, I saw you at the Comedy Store, and you asked me about your boy, Brendan.
Yeah.
And, like, you had asked me about,
let's explain the whole thing to people that don't know the story. Brendan said something where he was talking about UFC Tonight. Right? It's UFC Tonight?
Yeah. Well, he was talking about the Fox panel.
Fox panel. And he said something about, I get it, Fox, you're not racist. Like saying that you have a bunch of black people on it.
Yeah,
because they're
full
not
black
racist.
cast.
Yeah.
And because they're not racist. Myself, Tyron, and Karen Bryant were the three that were on the desk that day.
But also a lot of times Rashad, a lot of times
DC.
Yeah.
And so it was like, but are you checking off boxes? Because are these the best brains and the best speakers for the job?
Right.
And it was like, and some people see the point that he was trying to make, the point that he claims that he was trying to make. But the thing is, when you start in on this race thing, you're saying effectively that there's a person or a group of these people are only there because of the color of their skin, right? You could say all of that without the whole "I get it, you're not racist, are you checking off boxes or whatever," right? Because if that doesn't matter to the question or the point that you're trying to make, then why bring it up?
Right.
That's.
I feel like I know Brendan very well. I love him. He's one of my best friends. He's definitely not a racist, but he definitely talks too much.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that in a bad way, like he talks too much. I mean like he says he has too many podcasts and too many things, and you say things, and I'm 100% guilty of this. You say things, and you're like, why did I even say that? And then all of a sudden you're defending it, and then you're caught up in a, just like a wave of just trying to sort out what you're saying without someone being there to say, well, look, here's the thing. Tyron Woodley, UFC welterweight world champion. Yves Edwards, arguably the best 155er in the world at one point in time, massive veteran of the sport. You can go down the list. Rashad Evans, former light heavyweight champion. I mean, you're talking about top flight champions, former champions, elite mixed martial artists. But you also have Bisping. You also have Paul Felder. You also have
Kenny.
Yeah, Kenny Florian. You have they're just elite, top of the food chain fighters and analysts. I think it was a bad path to go down. I don't think it made sense. I think he thought it made sense in his head when he was saying it. I think maybe he was trying to be controversial. Maybe I don't know. It didn't make sense to me.
Yeah, it didn't make sense to me either. But like my thing about it wasn't, okay, you're being racist, right? Like it's a thing when you bring race into the situation, right? But my thing wasn't, you're racist because you say this. My thing was, you're saying that I'm in this position because I'm not good enough.
Right.
You're saying that I'm only here because of affirmative action or whatever you want to call it. There's not a quality to my work, and that's where I'm like, yeah, fuck that. That's not the case. I know that I'm good at. I know that I'm good at the sport. I understand the sport, and I'm good at explaining what I see.
Right. And who would? The other thing is like, who would replace them? Is there white people that are missing out?
Yeah.
On the gig?
Yeah.
Like who's
everybody went to an audition.
Yeah, who's not getting the job though? Is there like someone who's like, wow, this guy really speaks really well, but they're holding him down because he's white? Has that even happened?
Yeah.
There's some people that would probably like that to happen, but I don't think that's actually happened.
Yeah, I agree completely. But so we kind of went through that, Yeah. He sent me a message, he apologized about that, and I was like, cool. Like my thing was not about the race thing. My thing was, you said these things and you're either saying somebody or a group of people up there aren't qualified for the job.
You're insinuating that a group of people that you belong to are not qualified to the job.
So that's where I was coming from with it.
Yeah.
And then I thought it was squash. But then he said some other stuff after that. And that's where I'm like, man.
What did he say afterwards?
He was, I forget the guy's name. I remember. Luke Thomas, right? He was on this guy Luke Thomas's show.
Uh-huh.
And he's saying stuff. He's specifically talking about me now. He's like, yeah, I talked to them. We're all friends. I talked to Eve. And he's like, well, see, this is something Eve sees in himself. And I'm just like, man, you're not.
Is that really what he said?
Yeah. Like he said, I feel like that's something Eve sees in himself. He was aggressive and this, that. He said he was emotional and this and that. And I'm like, I never said to you I was emotional. None of these things. So like, you're like, this bus is coming, you're waiting to throw me in front of it or some shit like that. And I'm like, yeah, no, that's not cool, man. Like, we're not friends. We know each other. The extent of our friendship is like a UFC last summer. I saw Brendan across the aisle and some guy rolled up on him and was talking to him for like 10 minutes. And I'm looking back and I could see Brendan's like,
trapped.
Fuck that. Cause I'm like, let me go try and help him out. So I go over there and I start talking to Brendan, and then the dude just hangs out. I talked to Brendan for about 5-10 minutes, and then the dude just hanging out behind us, and I'm just like, that's all I got, man. I'm going back to my seat.
And the guy jumps
right back in. That's
Yeah.
the extent of it. I've seen him at different places beyond that. Brian and I are cool, so I've seen him sometimes when I seen Brian. But like, we're not boys. We don't know each other like that. So and you're not a psychologist, you're not a psychiatrist, so you're not qualified to be speaking on my mental state.
I didn't know that he said that. I feel like now that I'm remembering it, you might have brought that up at the Comedy Store the other night. Yeah. It didn't make any sense. It doesn't make any. I'm Brendan's friend, and I can't defend him on that because it doesn't make any sense. It just didn't. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
But sometimes he says shit that doesn't make sense, and maybe if you were in the room with him, he wouldn't have said it, or maybe he would have said it better, or maybe he would have said, are these really the best minds? But here's the argument. If they're not, who are? Like, if you say, are these really the best minds, you really should provide better alternatives. Right. So who are the better alternatives? Who's the better alternative? I mean, there's a bunch of really good guys online. Brendan Dorman does some really good stuff. Lawrence Kenshin does some really good stuff about analyzing stuff. I don't know how good they are on camera. There's a bunch of people like, that do good. Robin Black does some real good breakdowns and stuff like that. I mean, maybe there's an argument that he would do a great job at something like that for sure. But you got to provide. It's not like there's like some overwhelming absence of the best guys where they're saying, hey, why are you going with these black guys instead of going with the best guys? Why don't you have blah, blah, blah? There's no blah, blah, blah. Like, there's no guy out there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, who would that guy be?
I have no idea, but there's also a formula. I mean, like you and Jimmy Smith kind of are the exception to the formula, and the formula is to have, the color guy and the play-by-play guy, and the play-by-play guy is usually the one with the actual experience.
Right.
You've been doing it so long, you're as close to having the experience as anybody can without having it.
Yeah.
And Jimmy's right there next to you in that.
Jimmy's actually has more experience than me because he's fought MMA.
Right. He's had a couple of fights.
Yeah.
Right. Not at that level, but he understands.
Right.
Robin Black has had like 2 or 3 fights also.
Something like that, yeah.
So that's the formula, though. Karen is on the other side of that. Her role is similar to Goldie's.
Right.
She is the person that asks the questions, that has an idea but doesn't have the experience.
Right.
And she represents the fan for the most part.
And she does it in a non-robotic way, which is
Right.
very important. Like for the person watching, if you've got some guy who's like a radio DJ coming at you, those people, they know how to say the right words and they can do it and seem professional, but you're not smooth. Whereas Karen knows how to be fun and she can be loose and she's non-robotic while
she's
being
knowledgeable.
Professional. Yeah.
She has a knowledge of the sport
Yeah.
to some degree,
And a
good
passion
knowledge.
for it.
Exactly,
Yeah.
the passion is what makes it even more out of her.
Yeah, I was watching NFL the other day, and I was watching it. Was it with you? Or whatever it was, where I was like, is that girl really the best person to be interviewing these fucking giants? Wasn't you? I was like, is that girl
You've
really
seen
know?
that something, but she's hot or something.
Yeah, she's
right?
hot as fuck. I was like, does she really know about football, or is this just a gig because she wants to be famous? You know what I mean? Like, there's
Yeah.
a lot of those. Whereas you would say, okay, there's got to be someone out there that's better, who really understands the game, who could get in there and ask questions to this dude and find out like why they chose that play, what went wrong, what was he thinking when this happened, like someone who really is a fan of it. That's what I want to see with fighting. I mean, that to me, fighting is so much more personal, so much more intense. When I see someone that's interviewing someone, I want to see someone who really fucking cares, because I know there's a lot of people who do care, and I care. Like if I'm interviewing someone after a fight, I'm trying my best to figure out like what was happening in their head. There's some critical moments. I want to know, was this a plan? Did you see this in advance? Is this something you saw in training when you were watching tapes? I have questions, like fan questions. So I do my best to relay those. That's what I do my best. If I feel like someone's phoning it in, or this isn't a job they're interested in, or they really just want to be in some other sport. They really wanted to be a fucking baseball commentator, but there was no gig.
Yeah.
They're just fucking half-assing it. It's just...
It's weak.
It's terrible.
One thing I loved, one thing I always tried to do, I always wanted to I tried to make you laugh. Every post-fight interview. Anytime, like, it was like, I won, a knockout, okay, I'm going to talk to Joe. Let's see what he gives me. See if he gives me something I could try to make him laugh with. Sometimes I came with something set up, but there was one time, I forget who it was. I think it was a Jeremy Stevens, and you would ask me to take you through the replay, and I was literally watching it, and you would ask me a question, and I wasn't even paying attention to you. But so it worked out perfectly. You were like, I was like, Joe, I'm sorry, I was watching that, and I was going to ask you to ask the question again, and it hit me. I was like, and I was just thinking, damn, I'm smooth. And I got that reaction out of you, so that was fun.
That would be a natural reaction if you said that. I mean, I also like helping the guy celebrate. There's moments like when someone does something where someone almost has to tell you like how amazing that was. Like it was amazing, but I want to let you feel it even more. I want you, like when Rose Namajunas beat Joanna. Like that to me, it's like one of my favorite all-time post-fight interviews.
Yeah.
Because she's like, y'all just be a good person. This belt don't mean shit. I was like, damn, Rose is out there. She's so unusual. And to have, her walk through it, like this impossible underdog coming in, and even if she won, everybody thought she'd win by submission. You didn't think she'd just step in and crack her with a left hook and then drop her. Like, what? That was crazy. Like, watching that fight was crazy.
Here's a good one for you on another big fight. I feel like there's a moment, right, in a fight, especially when you get a finish. Sometimes there's a moment that comes just before the finish that you recognize this opportunity is there and you jump on it. And then there are times when, like, before the moment happens, like before the shot comes, it's like, this guy's about to throw this right hand and I know I'm going to slip it and drop my right on top of it, right? But then there are times when you hit a guy and it's like, oh, this is my chance, right? And you jump on him and you know the end is near, and all that rush when the referee steps, that's the moment, that's the biggest moment. When the referee stops the fight, that's when you come.
Right.
You know what I mean? So like that, if you could figure out how to ask that question, because getting someone to explain that moment is if they can translate that, that's so sweet. Because I can think of what one of my last fights was with Stevens. Like when I hit him, I knew what I was doing, and I knew I was going to land the punch. And then as he went down, it was like, oh shit, here's that moment. And you jump on it, you know? Being able to be, that's what the best thing to get out of guys. And you asked that question well, but also if they can see it coming.
Right.
Man, seeing that coming, that's the thing. That's when it's like, this chick is hot and I know I'm going to get it. It's that moment when it's like, oh, this is actually happening.
What do you miss the most about fighting?
Like, what don't I miss? I love that challenge, man. Like, that's why I still like training and whatnot, but the actual fight itself, it's because everything's on the line.
Have you thought about doing grappling competitions or anything where there's no striking?
I have not. I thought about it once or twice, but not been committed to doing it. I'm starting to train more now again. I had some things happening in life that were changing for me. I just moved out here, and I didn't have the team, the foundation behind me. I didn't have the group that I was with all the time anymore. I had to find a new group, start to build a new group. And now that we have this group, I feel more comfortable. I'm back in the gym more. I'm able to do more like that, and like I'm still in good shape. And yeah, I feel like maybe I want to compete again, but just for the fun of it, you know, not to try and be a world champion or anything.
As in MMA or compete in jiu-jitsu?
I still love MMA. It doesn't make sense though.
Right.
You know, there are definitely some fights that I wish could have happened or that I would have had.
Like what fight do you feel like you missed out on?
Fighting Gomi at one point, you know?
When Gomi was Gomi.
Yeah.
Like throw those fucking fast-pitch baseball punches, man.
Like the Pride tournament, I would have loved to fought everybody in that tournament. You know, every individual. I fought Hansen. That was fun. He smelled like ass, but that was fun. It was horrible.
Do you think he did it on purpose? One of those guys?
He does that every fight.
Just doesn't smell, doesn't wash for a few days?
It's bad. Sakurai, like fights like that, you know. But like now, there's still some guys. Like I have a lot of respect for. I talked to Joe Lozon about it. I was like, man, I'd love to fight a guy like Joe Lozon, you know. But that was right after like the first year of being retired.
How many years have you been retired now? 5?
3 or 4. Since 2000. It was almost 4. November will be 4.
It seems like longer for some strange reason.
Because you just miss me, Joe.
I do.
You just miss me.
You know I do.
You just miss seeing that left leg kick. But no, it's one of those things where you love it so much. There are times when I'm watching fights, man, and there's some guys that are like just outside the top 15. I couldn't tell you any names right now, but like Jake Matthews when he was at 55. Like, I feel like this kid is good and he's awesome. They're much bigger than they were back in my day. But still, I'm like, man, sometimes I watch fights and I'm like, man, you motherfuckers are so lucky I'm not 25. Just because of the things you know now.
Right.
You know?
But isn't that the thing, right? The older fighters have way more knowledge and understanding of what to do, but their body doesn't respond that way anymore. And that's sort of the balance of it all, is that the young fighters have all the piss and vinegar and fast twitch muscle fibers, and they don't know that much.
For me, I feel, because I still move around, I still spar. I'm still sparring with like Joe and Mickey and those guys, and I can do a lot of the things that I've always been able to do. It has to do with, for the most part for me, the recovery. Like the next day, if I go hard today, I can't go hard tomorrow. I can't go hard 4 days a week anymore.
Right.
You know, I could go hard once or twice a week, and as I get in better shape, like the twice will be more consistent. But the recovery, I can still move very close to just as fast as I've always been. Like I think that will go away at some point, but I still have it, and I can't take it like I used to.
Yeah.
You know, that's a difference. I don't, like in the gym, I can still, like I still walk through some things, but I don't know about in competition when it's all on the line. Because again, I think your brain kind of, you're in a different mindset. You know?
Do you think about that when you're sparring right now? Because you really don't have a need to.
Right. I still love sparring. I don't do it nearly as much as I used to. I do think about that.
It's so fun though.
It's so much fun, you know. And I'm like, you only got one, right?
Yeah,
like
you got one.
I don't want to
But
be.
you don't want to live the last 20 of that one.
Drooling,
shit in your pants, and where's my keys?
I don't want that. So I try to exercise my brain as much as I can. But
what do you do?
You know, reading. I do a lot of the brain cognitive games, like you know, a lot of things with numbers and crosswords, and I just, that's a hard thing for me to not do something, because if I'm awake and I'm not occupied, my thoughts are just going. So like that's something else I've been doing. I've started to write things down. I've been doing like some stunt work and acting, right? So I've been watching old shows and just watching it for the acting, and I'll find a script and I'll stand in front of the mirror by myself and do some things.
Oh, that's so weird.
Try to play some things out. Like I'm just going through all of it. I did a small movie. They're doing a movie about Nick Newell, right? And I fight the guy that's playing Nick Newell in one scene early in his career.
Nick Newell's the fighter who has one arm.
One arm, right.
Does the guy in the movie have one arm as well?
No, but they green screen it.
Oh, wow.
So he's the whole time he has this green sleeve over his arm, and he has it out here, and he's moving it, and we choreograph the fight, and we have to kind of account for all of that in the choreography with the green screen and all that. It's cool though, but I got a couple lines. I did some lines, and the first time I did lines was with Kevin Pollak, so that was cool for me.
Wow,
you know,
that's pretty crazy.
Yeah. And then I did an episode of Ballers for the next season, so that was cool.
Did you work with The Rock?
No, I worked with Ricky, so JD Washington.
Okay.
So that was cool. And I had met. I watched these shows. I didn't know his name was JD Washington. I just knew his name was JD from being on set. I always called him Ricky. That was it.
Right.
Somebody told me he was related to Denzel Washington, and then I find out that his last name is Washington when I'm on set and I'm looking at the call sheet, and I'm like, "Hey, you related to Denzel?" And he's like, "Yeah." He has this look on his face like, "Motherfucker, you know that." And like I knew he was related, but I thought he would tell me how at the time, and I didn't know. But later I found out that it was his dad.
Oh,
you know?
shit!
I think that's his dad. You know, from what the information that I've got.
Oh.
And but and I'd met his dad also. Worked with him on Equalizer. We were for the Equalizer 2. We were helping him build the scenes. We were choreographing the scenes and teaching the choreography for that. And I have this thing where he's giving me voice lessons. I have this thing with Denzel Washington giving me voice lessons. I'll show it to you.
Lessons?
Like he's these tongue twisters that he says to practice enunciating.
Oh.
You know. It was kind of dope. So we're in the gym, we're working out, and he's like, so he says them to me, and he's like, you should write this down, because my buddy tells me, yeah, he does stuff on the Fox desk for UFC, and so he's like, he pays a little more attention to me at that point. He's like, yeah, he's going back to theater. He wants to do some theater because he wants to clean up his stuff, and so he's like, you should write this down. And I'm like, look, fuck! I grab my phone and I start recording, and then he sees that I'm recording, so he comes over and he's like, he's speaking into my phone, and I'm like, wow. I have this shit on my phone. I have this Denzel Washington voice coaching me.
Damn. Dude, that's huge.
Super dope, right?
So that's what you're out here for? That's what you're going to do? Other than Fox Desk, you're doing some acting, doing some other shit?
Yeah. It's like I'm a kid again, right? And I have my SAG card. So I have a ticket to the theme park. So why not just try the rides?
Yeah. You know? Fuck it. It's something new to do, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
so that's what I'm doing.
I know Bisping's doing a lot of work.
Bisping's doing a lot, and I did a movie with Bisping. Well, he had a big role in the film.
Kung Lee did a lot of shit.
Kung Lee's doing a lot, man. There's quite a few guys that like Jay Heron. Mm-hmm. Jay's doing a lot of stunts. You know, stunts are great, especially when you're doing fights. But I'm a 155 pounder. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not gonna be doing a whole lot of fighting in movies. A guy like Tate. Right. Tate's in doing
he's
so
in every
much.
movie dying.
Exactly. he has the look, and he's a big guy.
Yeah.
So he's getting a lot of work in that capacity. But as a stuntman, I'm a smaller guy, and most of the time when you want someone my size, you're going to want someone that can do other things, like a lot of the gymnast and that type of thing. And I can do some of that, but nowhere near as good as those guys.
Right.
And I'm not learning how to get hit by a car. Or get lit on fire. You know what I mean?
Fall on a motorcycle.
Yeah, that's not happening. I'm not doing that. So I want to.
I like the way you think.
I want to get better at this acting thing and try that out some because it's fun. Also, I played myself on the episode of Ballers, and I was like, this feels good. like the acting thing. It's like this is fun. This is it's a different kind of rush.
Yeah,
you know,
it's a new thing.
I'm gonna pick your brain when I'm gonna ask you for some advice. And
Didn't
tips.
you do stand up?
I did a couple sets.
Did you do it at the Dime Bar?
I did it at the Dime.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do it again.
Yeah.
I mean, I've done it a few times. I like it.
You could do it.
I don't feel like I'm funny. That's the problem.
You're funny, dude. You could do it. It's work for everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. It seems a lot easier than it is.
It's not easy at all.
No. It seems like it.
It's not easy at all.
Dude's just talking. How can that be hard?
But see, that's the thing. It's like people are like, man, you fought in an octagon. You fought in millions of people, and this and that. It's like, yeah, but I'm not looking at them.
You know, the thing is, too, all new things are difficult.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what difficult things you do. Try taking up chess for the first time. It's difficult. Try anything. Everything that's hard to do is difficult. Doesn't matter how many difficult things you've done. You might have a better understanding of how to perform under pressure than other people do, but it's still going to be hard.
Nothing worth doing is easy, right? Because if it was easy, everybody would do it.
Exactly.
You know, that's the thing. Like the other thing that I'm doing is I do a show with this platform called Pluto. So I have the show called the Thug Jitsu Master and Squid Show. And buddy, the Squid, we interview guys that got fights coming up. We do a lot of stuff with fighters. We get coaches. We get people that have nothing to do with fighting. But we make it fun.
So what is this on?
On Pluto.
What is Pluto?
Pluto is a platform you can get on your iPhone or on a Galaxy.
Is it an app?
It's an app. You can get it on the PlayStation, on Apple TV, and all these things, right?
Huh.
And
do you know what it is? You heard of it? He knows.
They have a fight channel. They got a 24-hour Glory channel.
Whoa.
So they got Glory running 24/7.
What?
They got a fight channel where they have
That's
MMA
all you need
fights
to tell me.
all the time.
A Glory channel?
The Glory channel.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so we do it over there. We do a thing called Fight Party Live where we watch the fights, but we just hang out with watch the fights and we just hang out and basically do a podcast while we're doing it. Yeah,
Pluto TV, it's free.
Everything's free.
No shit. 100+ channels, find what you want.
They got everything on there.
I've seen this before. No, you know what I'm thinking of? There's something on the Amazon. What is the thing that's on TV? The Amazon Fire?
You can put this on that.
That's what I think I've seen.
Too.
I think I see a dude who had it, and there was a whole channel that was dedicated to the Montreal Comedy Festival, the Just for Laughs Festival.
They have a stand-up channel.
Okay. Nice.
They have everything.
So what is this show called again?
The Thug Jitsu Master and Squid Show.
All right. Dude, it's already 3:00.
Wow.
We've been doing this for how long now?
Over 3 hours.
Over 3 hours. Crazy, right? Like we're in a time warp. How the fuck did that happen? That's how it goes. It's weird.
Yeah. Man, thank you for having me.
Do we need to
Joe.
say anything more about the Brendan Schaub thing? Did we cover it enough?
Man, as far as it goes, it's just like that's
It's a
a
weird
conversation
situation.
we need to talk.
Him and Hugh.
You know? Yeah. So
It's a weird situation for me because I love the guy and he's one of my best friends. And also, I can't defend what he said because it doesn't totally make sense.
Yeah.
And so, like what I'm saying when I said he talks too much, I do too. I say stupid shit. I don't mean to say stupid shit. I don't say that stupid. I didn't say that thing. I wouldn't say it like that.
Yeah.
But sometimes you say things, you don't even know why the fuck you're saying it, you know? And a lot of it also is less like just ranting. Like you go into these rants and you say shit and then you like see if you can back it up once you said it.
yeah, like just don't revisit dumb shit. That's like
It was insensitive. It didn't make sense and it was insensitive. And I bet he regrets it.
well, I mean, I don't know. Like that's an assumption we're making, right?
Yeah, well, I know the guy. That's why I'm saying it.
Yeah.
He's not a bad guy by
Yeah,
any stretch
like-
of the imagination. He's awesome.
I'm not I'm not the guy saying like you're racist for saying this. Like that's
Right.
I'm like my thing is when you're talking about the initial part of it, and I conveyed this to him, you know, was you're saying me or my brother or my sister aren't
Right.
good enough to be here. So
Right.
like that's disrespectful because I fully believe that we all are.
Yeah.
And that part, and he apologized for that, and we're cool there, you know. And then why are you talking about like this is what I see in myself? Because no, dog, that's not how it is.
I don't know
Like,
why I said that.
you're not a psychologist, you're not a psychiatrist, you have no qualifications to speak on my mental state. Like
Well, it's
let's
just weird too that you guys haven't. I think you should. I don't know. I think that sometimes someone says something instead of just straight up saying they fucked up, they say I fucked up, but
yeah.
you know I fucked up, but you know his issue is because of this, or you know it's something else is going on with him that's making him react this way. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm more concerned with his pants, those shredded up pants that he wears. Those disturb me way more than what he said. I can't defend either one.
Yeah, just don't wear women's pants.
I don't think they're women's. They just
If they have
fashionably-
holes in them, if they have holes in them, because like we went through that at the beginning of the show.
Men-
If they have holes in them,
It depends on how many holes, right?
Well, it depends
you
on where
have,
the holes
little,
are, I guess.
Well, if you earn those holes, like if you work construction, you got like a real hole.
yeah, you get your pants snagged on it.
Yeah, you got to do what you got to do. You know, if you're a farmer, you got like real barbed wire holes in your pants. That's a different animal. You know, that's okay. You earn those holes. You wore your jeans out. They started ripping in places. Okay.
You can't afford to buy some new ones.
Yeah, but if you paid a lot of money for pants that are already fucked up, you saw that shit in a magazine somewhere, that's what bothers me about Brendan. Fucking pants. This bothers me too, but what really bothers me, I like you a lot.
Yeah.
You've always been cool, and I think you do a great job. And I said
Gracias.
that very early on when you first started doing it.
Yeah, I remember that.
I tweeted it or something.
Actually, and you said it to me too. The last time I was here, Joe and I came to do a glory fight
Yeah.
companion with you. And
Yeah.
I remember that. I remember everything you say, Joe. Like even
That's
when
good because I don't.
especially when it's about me, because there was a time when you were like, "Look at Josh, he's so strong. Look how he just gets right back up. He's the stronger guy." Oh, gotcha. on
You remember
one.
that too.
I remember that. I love it because there's a couple times when you're not like disparaging of either fighter. But there's a couple times when you start seeing a strength in another guy, and there's 2 fights for me where that happened, and I was able to just clip him right as you're giving the other guy some praise.
Perfect.
So I was like, "Yeah, Joe, shut up, give me some love."
Give him some love, ladies and gentlemen. Thug Jitsu Master on Twitter is what's your Instagram?
Same thing.
Same
Thug
thing.
Jitsu
Thug
Master.
Jitsu Master. All right. And Thug Jitsu Master and the Squid
And Squid Show
on Pluto.
on Pluto
All
TV.
right. Yves Edwards, ladies and gentlemen.